They said he floated like a feather. They were right. But not on stage, in the ring. The year was 1968, and the Jackson house in Gary, Indiana, was already bursting at the seams with noise. 7 kids, a piano with 2 missing keys, and a father whose love sounded like a command. While Tito plucked strings and Jermaine practiced harmonies, little Michael sat in a corner, nursing a black eye. Not from a street fight, from life itself. He'd been bullied again that day. "Sing for us, choir boy," one kid sneered. Michael sang, soft and nervous. Then came the punch. He never forgot the laughter that followed. That night, while his brothers rehearsed, "I Want You Back," he turned on the black and white TV. There they were, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, 2 men trading pain for glory. The commentators spoke in awe, not pity. The crowd didn't laugh at bruises, they paid to see them. Something inside Michael clicked. "If pain gets applause," he whispered, "then I'll make pain my music." From that day on, the rhythm changed. Instead of clapping hands, Michael threw jabs at the bathroom mirror. Instead of hitting high notes, he hit air. Joe Jackson didn't notice. He thought the boy was shadow dancing. At 10, Michael wandered into Eddie Futch's old boxing gym on 5th Avenue, Gary. The place smelled like sweat and rust, a holy temple for broken noses. The trainer on duty, Clarence, Coach Randall, laughed when he saw the skinny kid in church shoes. "Boy, you lost?" Michael just stared. "No, sir. I'm here to learn how to move like Ali." The coach chuckled, then shrugged. "All right then, Ali Jr., show me what you got." The kid's first punch barely stirred the air. The second nearly toppled him. But there was something strange. He moved with rhythm, almost danced around the bag. Randall frowned. "You're not fighting like a boxer." Michael smiled. "I'm fighting like a performer." It took 6 months before anyone took him seriously. He trained quietly, after school, before dinner, long after his brothers went to bed. The gym became his stage. He learned the jab like a verse, the hook like a chorus, the footwork like choreography. And for the first time, the applause he craved wasn't for his voice, it was for his speed. At 13, while the Jackson 5 were signing with Motown in another timeline, this Michael entered his first amateur bout under the name MJ the Miracle Kid. He wore sequined shorts his mother had sewn from an old church dress. The crowd laughed, until the bell rang. He danced. Literally. The boy moved like no one had ever seen, pivoting, spinning, sliding just out of reach. His opponent, a local favorite twice his size, swung and missed until he looked dizzy. Then, with one perfect right cross, Michael dropped him cold. The room went silent, then exploded. The referee lifted the kid's hand. Someone shouted, "He moonwalked that fool!" That nickname stuck. The Moonlight Menace. He won 22 amateur fights before 18, all by decision or knockout. Sports writers started showing up. "A dancing prodigy from Gary," read Chicago Tribune. But what no one knew was how deep the obsession ran. He didn't date. He didn't party. He didn't laugh much. At night, his brothers played gigs and he stayed in the gym, bleeding on the ropes, whispering to himself, "Perfection, just one more round." When he wasn't punching, he studied tapes of Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Bruce Lee. He mimicked their timing, their posture, their flair. He even practiced talking like Ali in interviews, sharp, charming, untouchable. But under that charisma was something colder. He once told his coach, "Music fades when the song ends, but the sound of a knockout lasts forever." By 18, Michael turned pro. His debut fight in Detroit drew only a few hundred people, but they left believers. His opponent, an ex-Marine nicknamed Steel Chin Samuels, couldn't lay a glove on him. Michael's footwork was hypnotic. He slipped punches with a tilt of his head, ducked with a shoulder roll that looked almost like dance. Then came the counter. Samuels hit the mat so hard the crowd gasped. Michael raised his gloves, gave a shy smile, and whispered, "Thank you." 3 years later, he was 20-0, with 18 knockouts, and promoters were calling him the future of boxing entertainment. His entrances became legendary. Laser lights, smoke, a little spin before the bell. Some fans hated it, said he was turning boxing into Broadway. Others loved it. "He's reinventing the sport," one announcer said. "Every punch tells a story." By 1980, he fought at Madison Square Garden against Sugar Ray Leonard in what became one of the most watched fights of the decade. Both were fast, both were beautiful to watch, but Leonard was the star. Until round 6. Michael leaned close, whispering something the microphones didn't catch. Leonard laughed, then froze. A jab. A feint. Then a thunderous left hook. Leonard hit the canvas. The world gasped. The Moonlight Menace had arrived. That night, he said in his post-fight interview, "I don't dance anymore. The ring is my stage now." Reporters went wild. Fans screamed. The camera flashed, and Michael barely blinked. With fame came pressure. Cameras followed him everywhere. He trained at midnight to avoid reporters. Rumors started, that he never slept, that he punched steel beams instead of bags, that he was so fast the cameras missed his jabs. Some called him genius, others called him unnatural. But nothing compared to his biggest rival, a young Mike Tyson, climbing the heavyweight ranks. Tyson idolized Michael but hated the spectacle. "He makes boxing look pretty," Tyson told Sports Illustrated. "Boxing ain't pretty." Michael just smiled when asked. "It doesn't have to be. It just has to be unforgettable." They met in 1988, one of the most anticipated fights in history, the Battle of the Mics. Tyson came in raw and explosive. Michael came in calm and radiant, his gloves glittering under the lights. The opening bell sounded like a gunshot. Round after round, the fight swung between poetry and carnage. Tyson landed heavy shots that rattled bones, but Michael absorbed them with eerie grace. In round 10, Michael unleashed a flurry so precise it looked choreographed: 3 body shots, 2 uppercuts, 1 hook. Tyson fell. The referee counted. 10. The crowd erupted. Michael Jackson, the boxer, had beaten the youngest heavyweight champion in history. He didn't celebrate. He just bowed. Later, when a journalist asked how it felt, Michael said quietly, "Fame is just applause for pain. I've had enough applause to last 3 lives." Michael's fame turned global. He opened training academies, did Pepsi commercials, ironically still, and appeared in Nike ads with the slogan, "Float. Don't fall." But behind the smile, something was breaking. Reporters noticed his skin getting lighter, his face changing. He claimed it was stress, but insiders whispered about long hospital stays, transfusions, oxygen chambers. Some said he was trying to preserve his youth for one final fight, the immortal bout, against Evander Holyfield in 1993. But this was just the beginning. They said the heavyweight division had gone quiet, that nobody could touch Michael Jackson anymore. 25 wins, no losses, most of them knockouts that looked too clean to be violent. But by the late 80s a new name started echoing through the gyms, a teenager from Brooklyn who hit like a train and talked like a preacher of chaos. Mike Tyson. Every sports magazine had his face on the cover, and the question wrote itself, what happens when rhythm meets raw power? At first, Michael didn't pay attention. He was training in silence, drilling footwork in an empty Detroit warehouse he'd rented because the floors sounded right. He told reporters he respected Tyson but had nothing to prove. But the whispers kept coming. Tyson called him a dancer in gloves. Promoters smelled blood. When a journalist read Tyson's quote to him on live TV, "Michael moves pretty, but pretty doesn't survive in the ring with me," Michael smiled faintly and said, "Then let's find out how beauty fights back." That was the spark. Tyson was 21, undefeated, unstoppable. He chewed through opponents in minutes. Michael was 30, still fast, still flawless, but more measured now, the tactician, the artist. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was youth versus mastery, chaos versus rhythm. Training camp turned into obsession. Tyson hit the gym at dawn, his grunts echoing like thunder. Michael trained at midnight, sparring in total silence, studying Tyson's tapes frame by frame. He noticed something others missed. Tyson's rhythm broke for half a second every time he exhaled after an uppercut. "That's where I live," Michael told his coach. "In the half-second people waste." The press fed on it. Every week brought new headlines. Tyson promises to end the showman. Jackson calls knockouts poetry. Photographers followed Michael everywhere, hoping to catch him angry, but he never gave them that. Tyson gave them everything: sweat, fury, quotes sharp enough to cut steel. "He wants to dance? I'll dance him into the floor." When the contract finally dropped, Las Vegas went into meltdown. Promoters called it the dream fight. Tickets sold out in 2 hours. The weigh-in alone looked like a war council. Tyson stared at him like prey. Michael stared back like someone timing a song. When the host asked for final words, Tyson said, "He's never been hit by someone who means it." Michael just said, "He will." In the weeks before the fight, tension blanketed the sport. Everyone picked sides. Old-school fighters called Tyson the future. The purists worshipped Michael's artistry. Ali himself, already frail, was asked who'd win. He smiled and said, "Power fades. Rhythm doesn't." The night before the fight, both men couldn't sleep. Tyson stalked his suite, shadowboxing until his knuckles bled. Michael sat cross-legged in the dark, humming quietly. His trainer asked if he was scared. "No," Michael said. "I'm curious what kind of music pain makes when it's real." Fight day, February 22, 1988. The MGM Grand overflowed with history in the making. Celebrities packed the front rows. The lights dimmed. The cameras zoomed. Tyson entered first, hood up, expression pure menace. No entourage, no music. Just the sound of chains in his gloves. Then came Michael, calm, bare-chested under a plain white robe. No sequins, no glitter. Just gloves and focus. The bell rang. Round 1 was chaos. Tyson charged, throwing combinations that blurred on camera. Michael backpedaled, blocking with surgical precision, his feet tracing invisible circles. Tyson cornered him and landed a hook that sent shock through the crowd. Michael staggered, nodded, smiled, a small, knowing grin. Then he slipped under a jab and landed 2 clean shots to the body. The bells saved them both. Round 2 was closer. Michael had found timing, weaving around Tyson's power shots, landing jabs that frustrated him. By round 3, Tyson's breathing was heavy, Michael's eyes sharper. Then came the twist, a headbutt. Unintentional or not, blood spilled down Michael's forehead. Tyson smirked. The referee warned him. Michael touched the blood, looked at it, and whispered something no one heard. Round 4, the rhythm changed. Michael stopped retreating. He pressed forward, his punches snapping with perfect cadence. 1-2, pivot, hook, pivot, slip. Tyson connected once, twice, but Michael countered every blow like he'd rehearsed it. The crowd could feel it, the momentum shifting. Then, late in the 5th, Tyson landed an uppercut so brutal it lifted Michael off his feet. He crashed onto the canvas, the arena erupting. The referee counted, 1, 2, 3, and Michael got up at 6, face calm, eyes cold. Tyson lunged again, swinging wild. Michael ducked, turned his whole body, and threw a right hand that connected flush on Tyson's chin. The bell rang before Tyson hit the floor. Round 6 was war. Both men bleeding, both beyond tactics now. Tyson's power met Michael's precision in every exchange. The sound of gloves on flesh echoed like gunfire. No crowd noise, no commentary, just the rhythm of destruction. And then, at the start of round 7, Tyson's foot slipped. Michael saw it, that half-second opening he'd studied. Jab, hook, uppercut. Tyson's head snapped back. The referee jumped in. TKO. The arena froze. For a full 3 seconds, no one cheered. Then the place exploded. Michael dropped to his knees, exhausted, bleeding, laughing softly through the blood. Tyson, dazed, nodded at him. No handshake, just respect. At the press conference, reporters begged for quotes. Tyson, voice hoarse, said. He beat me tonight. But it's not over. Michael looked at the cameras and said, Nothing's ever over. It just changes tempo. The world went mad. Ratings shattered records. But the win came with cracks. The media accused him of luck, others of cheating. The Boxing Commission launched an investigation into the cut on Tyson's eye. The footage showed Michael's glove twisting at an odd angle, too precise to be accidental. When asked, Michael said, You don't hit to hurt. You hit to teach. Over the next months, he disappeared again, this time into the Nevada desert. Tyson demanded a rematch. Promoters chased him across 3 countries. When they finally found him, he was training alone, running drills in the dark with no music. A journalist who snuck in claimed she heard him whisper, He's still in there. I can feel him. They announced the rematch for the following year. Tyson promised revenge. Michael said nothing. The posters read, The Rhythm and the Rage. And just like that, the sport had its greatest story. 2 men, 1 rhythm, 1 fury, both convinced the other was unfinished business. When the rematch was announced, the world reacted like it was watching gods prepare for war. Tyson had been quiet for months, training in isolation, refusing interviews, speaking only through his trainer, Cus D'Amato's old protege, Kevin Rooney. He's coming for blood, Rooney told reporters. No jokes, no smiles this time. Meanwhile, Michael stayed hidden. No training footage, no quotes, nothing. The only clue came from a blurry photograph, him jogging through Death Valley at sunrise, his hands taped white, his body covered in sweat and dust. Someone asked his manager if he was preparing differently. He's not training, the man said. He's transforming. The build-up was madness. HBO ran a countdown show for 6 weeks straight. Talk shows couldn't stop debating. Tyson has the power, analysts said. Jackson has the precision. Old fighters picked sides like it was politics. Vegas hotels doubled their rates. Scalpers made fortunes. Every gym in America tried to copy something. Tyson's raw drills, Michael's footwork. They were no longer men. They were schools of thought. Rage versus rhythm. Violence versus art. 3 days before the fight, they met for the press conference. The air felt radioactive. Tyson arrived first, chewing gum, jaw tight, eyes dead calm. Michael came in wearing all black, gloves on, no entourage. They sat across the table without speaking. Cameras flashed. Finally, a reporter asked Michael what he expected from Tyson this time. He leaned forward slightly and said, The same storm. I'm just learning to breathe through thunder. Tyson laughed, short, sharp, humorless. You breathe through thunder, huh? He said. We'll see if you can breathe with your jaw wired shut. Security had to step between them when Tyson stood. For a moment, they were close enough to touch, 2 men who didn't blink. The photo from that second went around the world. Tyson's fury burning through his stare, Michael's calm unsettling everyone who saw it. The headlines wrote themselves, The Monster versus the Musician. Fight night, November 4th, 1989. The MGM Grand was packed to suffocation. The atmosphere was electric, tense, predatory. In the locker room, Tyson hit the pads so hard that reporters outside could hear the thuds like gunshots. In Michael's dressing room, there was no sound at all. He sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, moving his hands slowly in the air as if rehearsing something invisible. His coach whispered, You ready? Michael opened his eyes and said, I've been ready since the first punch I ever dodged. When the fighters stepped into the ring, the roar was deafening. Tyson's face was stone. Michael's was expressionless, like a surgeon about to operate. The referee brought them together. Protect yourselves at all times. They touched gloves, though either man looked down. Round 1 erupted. Tyson charged like an avalanche, swinging hooks with murderous intent. Michael danced backward, slipping, sliding, using angles that seemed impossible in such a small ring. Every time Tyson closed the gap, Michael's jab snapped out like a camera flash. It wasn't power, it was punctuation. By the end of the first round, Tyson had thrown 60 punches, landed maybe 6. Michael had landed 12. Clean. Efficient. Surgical. Round 2, Tyson adjusted. He trapped Michael in the corner and threw a combination so fast it blurred on tape. 2 landed hard. Michael's knees bent. The crowd roared. Tyson pressed forward, eyes wide, sensing the finish. Then Michael spun out, pivoted left, and countered with a body shot that made Tyson grunt for the first time. The bell rang. Michael walked to his corner smiling faintly. Tyson sat down breathing fire. Between rounds, Tyson's corner screamed, "Cut off the ring! Don't chase him, break him!" Tyson nodded, sweat pouring, rage controlled but alive. Across the ring, Michael's coach dabbed his cut lip and whispered, "He's expecting the old rhythm." Michael replied, "Then we'll change the song." Round 3. The pace slowed. Tyson stalked. Michael circled. They traded single shots, chest moves and blood. Then, halfway through, Tyson feinted left and exploded with an uppercut that landed flush. Michael's head snapped back. He didn't fall, but his eyes glazed. Tyson smelled blood. He unleashed a flurry that drove Michael against the ropes. The referee watched closely. The crowd stood. Then, somehow, Michael ducked under the last hook and fired a counter right that cracked Tyson square in the temple. Tyson froze for half a heartbeat. Michael stepped in and threw another, sharper one. Tyson stumbled. The bell saved him. The crowd went insane. The commentators shouted over each other, "Tyson's hurt! Jackson turned the tables!" In the replay, you could see it clearly. Michael had timed the counter off the rhythm of Tyson's breathing, not his punches. He later said in an interview, "He exhales before violence. That's his tell." Round 4, Tyson came out furious. His gloves flew like hammers, but now his rhythm was off. Michael exploited it ruthlessly. Jab, pivot, body shot, step back. The sound of his gloves hitting Tyson's ribs echoed like drums. Still, Tyson was Tyson. In the final 10 seconds, he cornered Michael again and landed a short right hand that rattled him. Michael stumbled but stayed standing. The bell rang and the two men glared at each other. Tyson's grin returned, split-lipped and wild. Round 5. The fight's heartbeat slowed. Michael's footwork wasn't as clean now, and Tyson smelled fatigue. He chased him, throwing thunderous body shots. One landed so hard it echoed through the arena. Michael winced but fired back with a left hook that caught Tyson's chin. The crowd gasped. For a split second, both men froze. The exchange was perfect symmetry. Then Tyson smiled. Michael nodded. It wasn't respect. It was agreement. This was what they were born for. Round 6 started slow, almost eerily quiet. Then Tyson feinted a right and drove a left hook into Michael's ribs. Michael doubled over. Tyson followed with another uppercut, and for the first time in his career, Michael dropped to one knee. The count started. He took it slow. At 7 he stood. His eyes were clear, calm, analytical. The crowd was losing its mind. The referee waved them back together. Tyson charged again. Michael moved sideways and landed a counter straight so fast it looked like a flicker of light. Tyson's head snapped back. The bell saved both of them again. By round 7, both fighters were soaked in sweat and blood. The commentators were yelling that it could go either way. Michael's coach begged him to stay outside, jab and move. Tyson's corner told him to cut loose, forget the plan, end it now. The bell rang for the 7th and final round. Tyson came out swinging like a man possessed. Every shot aimed to destroy. Michael dodged most, ate a few. His left eye was swelling, his ribs bruised, but he kept moving. Then Tyson cornered him again, and that's when Michael did something nobody expected. He stopped moving. Stood still. Tyson hesitated. Just a blink. That's all it took. Michael threw a short right hand straight down the middle. Perfect. Clean. Unreadable. Tyson fell like a tree. The referee's count felt eternal. At 9, Tyson rolled, got to his knees, tried to rise, and the bell rang. It went to the scorecards. Split decision. One judge for Tyson, one for Michael, one even. Draw. The crowd booed, cheered, screamed. Both men raised their gloves, both bleeding, both barely standing. In the post-fight interview, Tyson said, "He didn't beat me. I didn't beat him. But I felt something I've never felt before." When asked what that was, he said, "Patience." Michael's interview was quieter. A reporter asked if he'd ever give Tyson another fight. He smiled and said, "Only if he learns to listen." That night, the two men met privately in the hallway behind the arena. No cameras. No microphones. Just two exhausted legends. Tyson extended his hand. Michael shook it. Tyson said, "You're crazy, man." Michael said, "We both are." The rematch was over, but something had shifted. The rivalry had turned into respect and obsession. Tyson wanted closure. Michael wanted the perfect fight. The world wanted blood. It was no longer about belts or records. It was about philosophy. And somewhere deep inside, both men knew the story wasn't finished. Not yet. By the time the third fight was announced, the world had stopped treating boxing like a sport. It had become theater, religion, and blood-borne philosophy. Tyson and Jackson had already fought twice. One victory, one draw, and both carried the scars. Tyson's left eye drooped slightly now, a reminder of their second war. Michael's ribs never fully healed. He trained with tape wrapped tight around his torso. Yet both men agreed to the trilogy instantly. There were no negotiations about money. When reporters asked why, Michael said, "Because unfinished rhythm is noise." Tyson growled, "Because I can still hear his punches when I sleep." That was enough. Training camps turned into documentaries. Tyson locked himself in Catskill, no distractions, no music, just old-school pain. Every morning at 4 he ran hills until he puked. He wanted silence, but in that silence he heard Michael's voice, cool and mocking, whispering from memory, "Find the beat." Across the country, in the desert outside Reno, Michael built a private ring on red sand. He refused sparring partners. He fought shadows. He told his coach, "Tyson hits harder than physics, but he's human. Humans breathe. I'll time the air." When he wasn't training, he studied slow-motion film of Tyson blinking. He measured it, counted frames, memorized the rhythm. 2 weeks before the fight, they met for a photo shoot. The photographer said later he'd never seen two men so calm and so terrifying. "They didn't glare," he said. "They just existed in the same space like gravity and lightning." At the weigh-in, Tyson muttered, "You ready to bleed again?" Michael smiled. "Always." Fight night, April 7, 1991. Caesar's Palace. The arena vibrated with anticipation. Celebrities filled the front rows. The broadcast was set to reach 150 countries. Outside, people fought scalpers for standing room tickets. Inside, the lights dimmed and the crowd roared as Tyson entered first, black shorts, tall-cut robe, eyes locked on the ring. No music. Just menace. Then came Michael, white trunks, gold gloves, no robe this time. The air changed when he walked in, like someone had turned down the oxygen. Round 1 began at a sprint. Tyson exploded forward, testing range, cutting the ring off perfectly. Michael circled, jabbing, measuring. Tyson's hooks whistled past his ear. Michael's counters landed but lacked weight. He was conserving energy. The crowd booed, hungry for chaos. Tyson obliged. 30 seconds left. He cornered Michael and unleashed a left hook that landed flush on the ribs. Michael grimaced, tied him up, survived the bell. Round 2 started with rhythm. Michael's feet moved faster now, his jab sharp as a needle. Tyson kept pressing but couldn't find the target. Every time he lunged, Michael stepped offline, tagging him with short combinations. The commentators began saying what nobody dared before. "Jackson's outboxing Tyson again." But Tyson wasn't listening to commentators. He was listening to instinct. In the final seconds, he slipped under a jab and buried an uppercut into Michael's solar plexus. The sound was sickening. Michael's knees buckled, and for the first time in his career he clinched for dear life. The bell saved him by 2 seconds. Round 3, Tyson smelled blood. He came out snarling, bobbing, weaving, hands like cannons. Michael tried to jab and move, but his breathing was off. Tyson bullied him into the ropes, pounded his body, ripped hooks upstairs. Then, out of nowhere, Michael ducked under a right and answered with a left uppercut that snapped Tyson's head back. It didn't drop him, but it reminded everyone that he could still change the tempo anytime he wanted. The round ended with both men glaring, chests heaving, blood on both gloves. In the corner, Tyson's trainer shouted, "Keep walking him down, he's breaking." Michael's coach whispered, "Slow it down. He's fighting in 3/4 time now." Michael nodded, understanding every word like sheet music. Round 4 was pure strategy. Tyson pressed. Michael retreated. The crowd booed again. Then, halfway through, Michael planted his feet for the first time all night. He threw a 5-punch combination, jab, cross, hook, hook, uppercut, that caught Tyson clean. The crowd erupted. Tyson staggered but didn't fall. He smiled through the blood. "That all you got?" he mouthed. Michael shook his head. "Not yet." Round 5 began like a movie scene people would replay forever. Tyson stormed out, swinging haymakers, wild but dangerous. Michael countered, pivoted, rolled. Sweat flew off both men like rain. In the final minute, Tyson finally broke through, 2 rights, a left, a short uppercut. Michael went down hard. The crowd leapt to its feet. The referee counted 1, 2, 3. Michael's eyes focused at 4, his breathing slowed, he rose at 8, steady as stone. Tyson rushed in to finish, but Michael clinched, whispered something into Tyson's ear, and survived the round. Nobody ever found out what he said, but Tyson admitted later, "Whatever it was, it made me hesitate." Round 6, Michael started walking Tyson down, a shocking reversal. He jabbed to the body, feinted, jabbed again, landed overhands. Tyson's aggression turned cautious. Each punch he threw met a counter faster than his brain could process. By the bell, his right cheek was swelling. Round 7, both men knew it could end any time. Tyson came out composed, slipping inside the jab, working the body. Michael countered beautifully, but his footwork was slowing. With 40 seconds left, Tyson unleashed a right hook that clipped Michael's temple. He fell to one knee, then stood before the referee could start counting. Tyson roared, swinging again, but Michael ducked and threw a hook of his own. It landed perfectly. Tyson froze, eyes wide, then fell face first into the canvas. The referee started counting. 1, 2. Tyson stirred. 3, 4. He pushed himself up. 5, 6. The crowd was screaming. 7, 8. Tyson was on his feet but wobbly. The bell rang. Saved again. Round 8 began in silence. Even the commentators stopped talking. Both men were exhausted, eyes glassy, bodies carved with bruises. They circled each other slowly. Tyson swung first, missed. Michael answered with a straight right that connected flush. Tyson stumbled into the ropes. Michael advanced, throwing combinations like lightning, precision without mercy. 2 left hooks, 1 right cross. Tyson collapsed again. The referee counted fast this time. 7, 8, 9, 10. It was over. Michael didn't celebrate. He leaned against the ropes, gasping, gloves hanging like weights. Tyson sat on his stool, nodding slowly, as if he understood something about himself for the first time. When the announcer shouted, "Winner by knockout, Michael Jackson!" the roar felt less like victory and more like relief. Tyson stood, walked across the ring, and hugged him. The cameras caught him whispering, "You made me human again." Michael replied, "You made me alive." The trilogy ended there, but legends never stopped growing. Tyson retired the next year, citing spiritual fatigue. Michael took 6 months off, his ribs healed, his fame multiplied. Documentaries called him the man who danced through hell. Kids mimicked his footwork in gyms, chanting float, breathe, listen. Sponsors begged him to sign new deals. He refused every one. I'll fight again, he told a reporter. When the rhythm calls. It didn't take long. A new name was already rising, Evander Holyfield, the clean-cut preacher with granite resolve. He called Michael out respectfully but firmly. He's art, Holyfield said. But I'm faith. Let's see which one lasts longer. Michael watched the interview on mute, studying the way Holyfield moved his lips when he spoke. He smiled faintly. He doesn't waste air, he said. That's dangerous. Promoters went wild. Another dream match. But this time, something felt different. Tyson was pure rage. Holyfield was conviction. And Michael, somewhere between artist and legend, was starting to wonder if perfection even existed. He told his coach, Tyson showed me pain. Holyfield might show me purpose. When the announcement hit, newspapers around the world called it the Holy Bout. Tyson attended the press conference quietly, wearing sunglasses. A reporter asked if he'd be in Michael's corner. He shook his head. No, he said, but I'll be watching. We both will. And as the cameras flashed, Michael sat on the stage beside Holyfield, expression calm, almost kind, like a man meeting his next chapter head-on. The rivalry that had defined an era was over, but another rhythm was already starting, slower, steadier, and somehow even more dangerous. After the Tyson trilogy, the world treated Michael like something between a saint and a science experiment. Sports magazines called him the Rhythm King. Trainers broke down his fights frame by frame in slow motion, hoping to steal whatever secret let him turn violence into balance. Kids in every gym practiced his footwork, stepping to invisible beats. Tyson had retired, his legend bruised but intact, and for the first time in years boxing felt empty without a villain or a messiah. Then Evander Holyfield appeared, quiet, disciplined, terrifyingly consistent. Holyfield wasn't charisma or chaos. He was control. He prayed before every spar, thanked his opponents after every knockout, and lived like discipline itself had taken human form. Reporters loved comparing him to Michael, faith versus rhythm, devotion versus obsession. Holyfield said it best during an interview on HBO. He finds rhythm in pain. I find God in it. The line trended worldwide. Michael watched it on a loop that night, sitting in the dark with his gloves still on, and whispered, Then maybe we're praying to the same thing. Promoters jumped on it instantly. Within a month they'd locked down the contracts, and suddenly the sport had its next scripture, the Holy Bout. It wasn't just another fight, it was the battle for boxing's soul. One man who believed perfection was divine order, another who believed perfection was divine surrender. The posters didn't even need taglines. Just their faces. Michael's camp moved to Arizona to train at high altitude. No music this time, he'd given that up after the Tyson Wars. His coach, Darnell Moore, a grizzled veteran with a scar across his jaw, kept the sessions quiet and merciless. 6-hour road runs at dawn. Shadowboxing blindfolded to tune reaction. When a journalist asked what they were working on, Moore said, Peace under pressure. Michael added softly, Faith in rhythm. Meanwhile, Holyfield trained in Houston with George Benton. His camp looked nothing like Michael's. Gospel music played between rounds. Reporters were allowed in. Children from local churches came to watch him spar. When asked how he planned to beat Michael's movement, Holyfield said, You don't chase rhythm. You cut it off at the root. I'll bring stillness to chaos. The contrast made the pre-fight hype almost poetic. Press conferences looked like church sermons gone wrong. Holyfield quoted scripture. Michael quoted silence. One reporter asked if he feared fighting a man who'd outlasted Tyson. Holyfield smiled. Fear's fine. It means you care enough to pray. Michael leaned toward the microphone and said, I don't pray for mercy. I pray for tempo. The crowd gasped. The clip replayed everywhere. 2 weeks before the fight, a thunderstorm hit Las Vegas, delaying their open workouts. Holyfield used the break to visit a children's hospital. Michael used it to run laps around the MGM parking lot under rain so heavy it drowned his footsteps. A photographer caught him afterward, soaked and trembling. When asked what drove him, he said, "I'm looking for silence loud enough to drown applause." By fight week, both camps were exhausted. Tyson showed up ringside at the final press event, sunglasses on, jaw tight. A reporter asked him who'd win. He said, "Holyfield's clean. Jackson's perfect. Clean cracks first." Then he walked out. The weigh-in drew global attention. Michael came in leaner than ever at 208 pounds, every muscle wire-tight. Holyfield, heavier by 6, looked carved from faith itself. When they faced off, there was no hatred, just recognition. Holyfield nodded slightly. Michael returned it. The camera flashes made the air shimmer. The photo landed on every newspaper front page within hours. In the last week before the fight, odd stories leaked from Michael's camp. He'd started sparring underwater in a hotel pool, practicing breath control. One trainer claimed he'd stopped eating solid food, surviving on protein shakes and green tea. "He's trying to slow everything down," Moore explained to a journalist. "When you control breath, you control time." Holyfield dismissed it all. "You can't drown a man who's already been baptized." The night before the fight, the MGM's top floor was silent. Holyfield held a prayer meeting with his team. They read Psalm 144. "Blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teacheth my hands to war." Across the hall, Michael stood alone facing a mirror. He threw slow punches in rhythm with his heartbeat, eyes unfocused, whispering, "Let it be perfect. Just once." Fight day, March 28, 1992. The world froze. Cable systems crashed from pay-per-view demand. Outside the arena, people sold bootleg t-shirts reading Faith versus Finesse. Inside, legends filled the front row, Ali, Foreman, Leonard, even Tyson sitting quietly with his hood up. The lights dimmed. The crowd hummed like a storm waiting to break. Holyfield entered first, robes white and gold, gospel choir echoing through the speakers. He looked peaceful, like a man clocking in for work. Then Michael entered, no robe, no glitter, no music. Just the sound of his bare feet brushing the canvas as he climbed the stairs. The contrast was biblical. At center ring, the referee gave instructions. Both men nodded. They touched gloves, one calm prayer, one silent promise, and stepped back. The bell rang. Holyfield started slow, testing distance with short jabs. Michael danced around him, not flashy, just efficient. Every movement small, economical, patient. Holyfield's style was pressure in disguise. He didn't chase, he walked forward until the ring shrank around his opponent. By the second minute, Michael's back touched the ropes. Holyfield threw a crisp 1-2 to the body. Michael blocked, countered, pivoted out. The bell rang. Round 2 was faster. Holyfield doubled his jab. Michael began slipping inside, landing quick counters. Each man respected the other's timing. It felt less like combat and more like negotiation, both too smart to show everything yet. The crowd didn't cheer much. They knew they were watching a chess match drawn in blood. Round 3 turned brutal. Holyfield closed distance, using his shoulders and forearms to pin Michael. Inside, fighting was Holyfield's church, and he preached pain. Short hooks, elbows grazing. Michael tried to spin away but couldn't. A right uppercut split his lip. Holyfield whispered, "Still dancing?" Michael spat blood, smiled, and landed 2 counters to the ribs before the bell. The crowd finally roared. Back in his corner, Michael told Moore, "He's reading me like sheet music." Moore said, "Then change the song." Across the ring, Holyfield's coach told him, "He's waiting for rhythm. Don't give him any." Round 4 began with fury. Michael switched stance southpaw, surprising everyone. His jab came from new angles, tapping Holyfield's temple again and again. Holyfield responded with body work that sounded like hammers on wood. Sweat flew in every direction. They traded like old warriors who'd forgotten fear. At the end of the 4th, The referee separated them as the bell rang, but neither backed away. They stared inches apart until corner men dragged them away. The arena lights caught their faces, one smeared with blood, the other glistening with resolve. The commentators whispered, "This is different. This isn't Tyson and Jackson. This is belief against belief." Round 5 would decide how the rest of the night went. Holyfield came out steady, throwing combinations in measured bursts. Michael circled, found space, and timed one perfect counter straight to the nose. Blood sprayed. Holyfield barely flinched. He smiled, nodded, and pressed harder. The bell rang, but both kept throwing until the referee shoved them apart. In the corners, both teams screamed, but the fighters barely listened. They were somewhere else now, that place only great fighters reach when pain becomes information. Moore wiped blood from Michael's chin and said, "You wanted faith? There it is." Michael whispered, "Then let's see what faith sounds like when it breaks." The bell for round 6 echoed like a warning shot, but nobody in the crowd sat down. They knew the next few minutes would decide everything. Round 6 began with both men breathing fire. The crowd had stopped cheering and started chanting. Every punch felt personal now. Holyfield pressed forward, chin tucked, gloves high. Michael circled, jabbing to buy space. The pace was brutal, not flashy. Each man had figured the other out. There were no surprises left, just willpower and conditioning. Half a minute in, Holyfield slipped under a jab and ripped a hook to the body that echoed through the arena. Michael's knees bent, and the crowd gasped. He pivoted away, landed a counter, but Holyfield didn't back off. He smelled fatigue and followed it. By the end of the round, Michael's mouth was bleeding again, his ribs mottled purple. Round 7, Holyfield slowed down deliberately, making Michael chase him. That wasn't his usual style, and it confused everyone, even his own corner. But it worked. Michael threw more punches, and his accuracy dipped. Holyfield's defense was textbook: tight elbows, small head movement, constant forward lean. 2 sharp jabs snapped Michael's head back. He smiled, but it looked forced. The commentators murmured that the rhythm was breaking. "He's still moving," one said. "But it's not music anymore, it's survival." Round 8 turned into trench warfare. Holyfield pinned him on the ropes and unleashed short combinations. Nothing wild, just efficient punishment. Michael's footwork saved him from a knockout, but not from pain. Mid-round, a clash of heads opened a cut above his right eyebrow. Blood poured down, blurring his vision. The referee paused the fight, called the doctor, who wiped the cut and nodded. "He can see." The crowd roared approval. When the bell resumed action, Holyfield came right back to the same side, targeting the cut with left hooks. Michael fought purely on instinct now, slipping punches by sound and pressure. At the bell, both men looked exhausted, but Holyfield's eyes still burned steady. Between rounds, Moore pressed a towel to Michael's cut. "You're down 2 rounds," he said. "You gotta hurt him now." Michael nodded but didn't speak. Across the ring, Benton told Holyfield, "He's fading. Don't get careless. Just keep your hands busy." Round 9 was chaos and slow motion. Holyfield's timing was perfect. He controlled the center of the ring and dictated pace. Michael tried to re-establish distance, but every step back met a body shot that stopped him cold. The crowd started chanting, "Evander! Evander!" And for the first time in his career, Michael looked small. Late in the round, he landed one brilliant 3-punch combo, left, right, left, and the roar reminded everyone why they loved him. But Holyfield absorbed it, countered with an overhand right that snapped Michael's head sideways. He stumbled, caught himself, and fought back out of sheer defiance until the bell. Round 10 began with mutual respect, no rush, no showboating. Holyfield's corner wanted control. Michael's wanted a miracle. For the first minute they traded evenly, jabs touching, counters whistling past ears. Then Holyfield stepped inside and landed a clean right uppercut. Michael's legs stiffened, but he refused to fall. He clinched, whispered something, nobody caught it, but Holyfield's eyes flared. They separated, and Michael exploded with a combination straight from his Tyson playbook. Jab, cross, hook, hook, pivot, hook again. It landed. Holyfield staggered backward, caught himself on the ropes, smiled, and nodded. The bell rang, saving both. Round 11 was the quiet storm. Holyfield's plan showed. He slowed the tempo, forced Michael to lead, then countered with precision. Every time Michael attacked, Holyfield made him pay. The cut reopened, blood sprayed across Michael's chest. Still, he wouldn't back down. With 30 seconds left, he landed a right hand that momentarily rocked Holyfield, but the older man recovered instantly and ended the round with a crisp jab cross that sent sweat flying from Michael's head. The judges scribbled furiously. Nobody in the building knew who was winning anymore. Then came round 12. The final bell. Both men stood instead of sitting between rounds. There was nothing left to save. The crowd stood too. The first exchange was savage. 4 straight punches from Holyfield, 3 counters from Michael. Holyfield's shots landed heavier, Michael's cleaner. Blood, sweat, and noise merged into one sound. Mid-round, Michael dug a left hook into Holyfield's ribs that made the crowd roar, but Evander answered with a right uppercut that split the air. They kept trading until the final 10 seconds. The bell rang, but neither man stopped immediately. The referee had to step between them. They hugged, both whispering words drowned by applause. When the final bell echoed through the MGM Grand, the noise was indescribable, half joy, half disbelief. The fight had been that close. Analysts leaned over their monitors doing math on napkins. One judge had it even. The other 2 scribbled in silence. The ring announcer walked to the center, voice trembling slightly. "Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the scorecards. The first score, 114 to 114, a draw." The crowd buzzed. The second, 115 to 113, Jackson. The roar shook the lights. The last card paused just long enough for every heart in the arena to stop. And the winner by split decision, Evander Holyfield. Half the crowd erupted in cheers. The other half booed loud enough to rattle the ring posts. Michael stood motionless, breathing hard, blood dripping from his chin. Holyfield raised a hand, then immediately crossed the ring and embraced him. The cameras caught him saying, "You're the best I ever faced." Michael whispered, "Not tonight." In the post-fight interview, reporters swarmed. Moore was furious, shouting that the judges robbed them. "Look at the stats. Jackson landed more clean punches." But Holyfield's corner held up the belt, and the official numbers flashed on the screen. Punches thrown, punches landed. Holyfield by 2%. Barely enough, but enough. The decision stood. Michael handled it differently. When they shoved a microphone toward him, he just wiped the blood from his eyebrow and said, "Sometimes rhythm bends toward grace." Then he left without another word. The headlines the next morning split the world again. Holyfield ends the era. Jackson robbed in Vegas. Faith beats rhythm. Replays flooded television. Analysts slowed the footage to prove or disprove the judges. Everyone had an opinion. Nobody agreed. Holyfield was champion, but the victory felt uneasy, like the sport had traded magic for order. 3 weeks later, a shaky video leaked online. Michael in a dark gym, training again, moving slower, more deliberate, almost angry. In the background, a television replayed the final round. When the bell sounded on the screen, he punched the heavy bag so hard the chain snapped. Then he looked into the camera and said, "We start again." Reporters tracked him to Houston, then Los Angeles, then vanished leads in Texas. Finally, one photo emerged, Michael standing next to an older man in a gray hoodie, George Foreman. The caption under the image read simply, "Power meets precision." Foreman, long retired, had recently made headlines with his improbable comeback streak. When asked about the photo, he smiled. "I like the kid. He reminds me of someone who still believes boxing's a conversation, not an argument." That single quote ignited the media again. ESPN ran the headline, "Foreman teases showdown with Jackson." Interviewers cornered Michael's trainer outside a gym in Reno. He didn't deny it. "George says he's got one more masterpiece left," Moore said. "Michael wants redemption. Maybe they'll paint together." Holyfield stayed polite in victory, defending his belt against others, but his name faded from the front pages. All the focus shifted to the possibility of the unthinkable, the legend of rhythm facing the legend of power, two generations colliding. Foreman's camp played coy, saying only, "If he wants to test himself against a hammer, he knows where to find the forge." Late one night, Michael appeared on a sports talk show unexpectedly. The host asked if he planned to retire after the Holyfield loss. He laughed softly. "Retirement is silence," he said. "And I still hear the bell." The camera zoomed in as the host asked about Foreman. Michael leaned forward. "He's not like Tyson or Evander," he said. "He's peace. Peace is harder to fight than anger. But I'll try." He stood, shook the host's hand, and left the studio without waiting for outro music. The next morning, every sports paper in America carried the same headline, "Jackson Foreman, the final test." And somewhere in a quiet Houston gym, two men started warming up on opposite sides of the city, one chasing redemption, the other proving that age and power still had rhythm of their own. The loss to Holyfield didn't break Michael, it stripped him clean. For the first time in 20 years there were no cameras at his gym, no chance of float, don't feel. He trained alone, the echo of his gloves the only applause left. Reporters called it exile, he called it rehearsal. Every morning at 5 he ran through the desert until the sun rose, sweat turning to salt on his skin. "You can't fix rhythm," he told his coach. "You can only tune it." The cut above his eye had healed, but something deeper hadn't. Foreman had been watching from Houston. At 44 he'd already pulled off the impossible, retiring, preaching, then returning to knock out men half his age. He wasn't the raging young champion anymore. He was the patient, smiling destroyer. When a reporter asked if he'd fight Michael, he chuckled. "He moves like water," he said. "But even water breaks on rock." It sounded like a sermon, and the world treated it like a promise. Promoters pounced. By summer, negotiations leaked. Michael's camp wanted a 12-round non-title exhibition. Foreman's camp wanted a sanctioned bout. The commission sided with Foreman. "If they're fighting, it's for real." When the contracts were signed, Vegas started printing money again. The hammer and the hummingbird, the posters red, Foreman in gray, Michael in white, two eras staring each other down. Michael's camp moved to Denver for altitude conditioning. His training looked stripped down, jump rope, sparring, endless footwork drills. Gone were the mirrors, the philosophy, the metaphors. He told Moore. "No sermons this time. Just punches." Moore nodded. "Then punch like you mean to speak." Across the country, Foreman trained in a converted church gym. Gospel music boomed between rounds. He laughed with his sparring partners, cooked for the press, quoted scripture after every session. Yet in private he was relentless. 5-mile runs before dawn, 200 heavy bag rounds every afternoon. His new trainer, Charlie Shipes, said, "He's not angry anymore. That's worse. Angry men miss. Peaceful men don't." As fight week approached, the contrast sold itself. Michael was precision, younger, faster, scientifically perfect. Foreman was gravity, slow, patient, inevitable. Analysts split straight down the middle. "Foreman's too old," some said. Others shook their heads. "You can't age out of power." At the press conference, Foreman arrived in a crisp suit and smiled through every question. "I like this kid," he said. "He reminds me of me before I learned manners." Michael stayed quiet until the final minute. A reporter asked if he thought Foreman was dangerous. He looked up and said, "Power's always dangerous when it stops pretending to be angry." The line went viral overnight. 2 nights later, they met face-to-face for the weigh-in. Michael at 209 pounds, Foreman at 257. The weight difference looked absurd, but anyone who'd seen Foreman hit new mass meant menace. They posed for photos, Foreman grinning wide, Michael expressionless. when someone shouted, "Smile, Mike!" He answered, "I'm saving it for round 13. Nobody understood what he meant. There were only 12 scheduled rounds. But the clip made headlines anyway. Fight night, June 3, 1993. Caesar's Palace again. The desert heat stuck to the air like glue. Inside the arena, the crowd was older, quieter, maybe wiser. They knew they were watching time argue with itself. Foreman entered first, robe trimmed with gold, eyes calm. Michael followed, bare-chested, gloves white as bone. They met in the center, and Foreman grinned. "You sure you want this, son?" he asked. Michael answered, "Yes, sir." The bell rang. Round 1 set the tone. Foreman stalked like a tank, jabbing high, testing. Michael circled, fast but not frantic, peppering him with body shots that thudded harmlessly against muscle. Foreman smiled after every one. At the end of the round he landed a right hand that shook the ring. Michael's knees dipped, but he recovered. The crowd murmured. They'd heard that sound before, the sound of history reminding everyone it still hurt. Round 2, Michael changed tactics. Instead of running, he darted in and out, scoring quick combinations, touching Foreman's guard, never lingering. His punches made more noise than damage, but they stole momentum. Foreman didn't chase. He waited. "He's conserving," the commentators whispered. "He's turning the fight into a clock." Round 3 was war of patience. Michael's speed kept him ahead on points, but each time Foreman connected, the impact was different, deep, dull, final. Mid-round a short left hook caught Michael's shoulder and numbed his arm. He hit it well, switching stance, throwing from the other side. Only Moore noticed. "Don't trade," he yelled. "Steal time." Michael nodded, eyes fixed on the giant across the ring. Round 4, Foreman began cornering him deliberately, cutting off the ring with half-steps. It was like watching a mountain move. Michael fired flurries, scoring but not stopping him. Then, in the last 20 seconds, Foreman landed a looping right that grazed Michael's temple. He stumbled, covered up, survived the bell. When he sat in his corner, Moore's voice cut through the noise. "You're fighting power like it's rhythm. It's gravity, Mike. You gotta learn to float above it." Round 5 was all survival. Michael's movement returned, sharp but cautious. He jabbed, moved, clinched, frustrated the old man. Foreman's face stayed blank. "He's studying him," a commentator said. "He's waiting for a mistake big enough to end a career." By round 6, sweat poured off both men. Foreman's punches slowed, but so did Michael's counters. The crowd could sense the tide shifting again. Mid-round Michael landed a crisp 3-punch combo to the body and head. Foreman barely blinked. He smiled, whispered something, and threw a short right uppercut. It missed by an inch, but the wind from it brushed Michael's chin. He felt it like a threat. Round 7, Michael regained control, peppering Foreman with clean jabs, circling, staying just out of range. Foreman swung less, walked more, hurting him like a farmer guiding cattle. Every missed punch from Foreman still sounded like a gunshot. When the bell rang, Foreman nodded across the ring. "Good round, son," he said. Michael answered with a nod of his own. Round 8, the tide turned. Foreman started digging to the body, slow, heavy shots that thudded against ribs and arms. Each one stole a breath. Michael fired back, but his speed was half a second slower. He tried to spin off the ropes, misjudged distance, and caught a straight right to the chest. He clinched, breathing ragged. "You all right?" the referee asked. "Perfect," Michael said through gritted teeth. The crowd ate it up. Round 9 was strategy versus physics. Michael moved like a man solving a puzzle under fire. He jabbed upstairs, slipped inside, tied Foreman up before the hammer fell. The older man grunted, leaned, and whispered, "You can't dance forever." Michael smiled faintly. "Then hit the drum already." They traded until the bell, and even the judges looked exhausted. Round 10, the pace dropped. Michael's left arm hung low now. The earlier shoulder shot was catching up. Foreman seized the moment. He doubled the jab, walked him down, landed 2 clean rights that sent him stumbling. The crowd stood, screaming for a knockout, but Michael's survival instincts took over. He bobbed, weaved, clinched, punched off the break. The bell saved him again. Round 11, the commentators' voices trembled. It's close on points. Jackson early, Foreman late. Both corners told their men the same thing: you need this round. For 2 minutes they traded evenly. Then Foreman cut the ring off and threw a left hook so short it looked like a twitch. It landed flush on the ribs. Michael's breath left him. He bent forward, clinched, held on. The ref separated them. 10 seconds left. Foreman advanced. Michael, desperate, fired a right cross that caught him square on the jaw. Foreman froze, blinked, smiled. The bell rang. Round 12, final round. The entire arena stood. No one could tell who was ahead. They met in the center, gloves touching once before violence resumed. Michael started fast, combination snapping, crowd roaring. Foreman waited, absorbing, letting him burn energy. With 40 seconds left, Michael feinted a jab and stepped inside. Foreman pivoted, threw a short right uppercut, and landed. Michael dropped to one knee. He rose at 8, eyes clear, defiant. The bell sounded seconds later. Fight over. Both men raised their gloves. The crowd erupted. Judges tallied numbers under pressure. Foreman's corner was convinced they'd done enough. Moore believed otherwise. The ring announcer returned, voice trembling. Judge 1 scores at 115 to 113, Jackson. Judge 2, 115 to 113, Foreman. Judge 3, 116, 112, for the winner, by split decision. He paused. The crowd leaned in. George Foreman! The arena shook. Half booed, half cheered. Foreman lifted his arms to heaven, smiling like a man who'd finally finished a prayer. Michael stood perfectly still, chest rising and falling, eyes distant. The cameras caught him nodding once before walking to Foreman. They hugged. Foreman whispered, "You're too good to stop." Michael said, "Then don't let me." In the press room afterward, reporters crowded him. "Do you think the judges got it wrong?" one shouted. Michael smiled, lips split, and said, "No rhythm lasts forever. Sometimes the beat belongs to someone else." He walked away before another question could land. Foreman's win stunned the sport. Headlines screamed, "Old Lion devours the dancer." Analysts debated conditioning, reach, strategy. Tyson called into a radio show and said, "That wasn't age-beating youth. That was faith-beating obsession." But the story wasn't finished. 2 months later, a reporter spotted Michael training again, this time in a tiny gym in Manila, barefoot, hitting a bag so hard the plaster cracked. When asked why he was back so soon, he said, "Foreman didn't break me. He reminded me the music's still playing." And somewhere in Houston, Foreman laughed when told of the comment. "Good," he said. "Let the boy play another verse. I'll be listening." The Foreman loss cut deeper than any punch. Michael didn't speak to cameras for 3 months, didn't step in a ring, didn't even watch tape. When he finally reemerged, he looked heavier, slower, but harder, like steel left in rain too long. "No music this time," he told his coach. "Just noise until it sounds right again." He trained in isolation in Reno, sleeping in a gym office that smelled of leather and bleach. The comeback wasn't about pride. It was about proving he could still fight time itself. The media had moved on. Tyson was gone, Holyfield had the belts, and George Foreman was a national treasure. Then a new name started climbing through the undercards. A short, thick New Zealander with a punch like an earthquake. David Tua. He was 21, barely spoke, and knocked people out before the commentators finished their intros. Journalists called him the human wrecking ball. Trainers called him worse things, mostly whispered. By 1995, Tua had 25 knockouts in 27 fights. Promoters saw the narrative immediately, the fallen legend versus the silent storm. When a reporter asked Tua about Jackson, he said only, "He moves. I end movement." The line went viral. Michael laughed when he saw it. "He's honest," he said. That's dangerous. The fight was set for February 1996, Madison Square Garden, Michael's first bout in nearly 3 years. The build-up was chaos. Rumors spread that he'd torn a tendon during training. His camp denied it, but footage leaked of him icing his right hand between rounds of sparring. Sports magazines ran headlines like "Rhythm Broken." Foreman, now commentating, said, "If he's hurt, he shouldn't fight." But legends don't always listen. Fight week was madness. Tua's team accused Michael's camp of trying to change glove brands at the last minute. Michael's side claimed Tua's camp tampered with the scales. The commission investigated both and fined everyone involved. When they finally met at the weigh-in, Tua just stared. No words, no smile. Michael nodded once. "You hit hard?" he asked quietly. Tua said, "You'll find out early." The night of the fight, the garden felt like a cathedral. Tyson sat ringside, stone-faced. Holyfield nodded from the commentary table. Foreman watched with folded arms. When Michael walked out, the crowd rose, half in respect, half in doubt. He looked leaner, but the bandage under his glove hinted truth. Tua followed, eyes flat, gloves dark red. The ring announcer called their names. The bell rang. Round 1 exploded. Tua came forward swinging short, brutal hooks. Michael slipped and countered, but his right hand barely moved. He was hurt, no question. He relied on jabs and footwork, tapping, moving, avoiding. The crowd saw it immediately. "He's one-handed," someone shouted. Tua didn't care. He stalked, landed a left to the body that sounded like wood snapping. Michael gritted his teeth and finished the round bleeding from the nose. Round 2, Tua's pressure doubled. Every step felt like a trap closing. Michael circled left, using his speed, jabbing from the hip, trying to buy time. Mid-round, Tua caught him with an overhand left that nearly twisted his head. The arena gasped. He stayed up, barely, clinging to instinct. When the bell rang, his trainer wanted to stop it. Michael shook his head. "Not yet. He hasn't missed yet." Round 3, he changed rhythm. He switched southpaw, started feinting with his legs, forcing Tua to think. The young brawler hesitated just long enough for Michael to land 3 sharp counters. The crowd roared, the old rhythm returning. But the moment didn't last. Tua reset, trapped him in the corner, and unleashed a body shot that folded him in half. The referee started counting. Michael rose at 8, blinking through pain, nodding that he was fine. The bell saved him. Between rounds, Moore begged to stop it. "You can't win with one hand." Michael smiled through the blood. "Then I'll fight with one truth." Round 4 began and something strange happened. Michael stopped retreating. He planted his feet, threw quick lefts, clinched, leaned, whispered things nobody heard. Tua's expression barely changed, but his rhythm did. He started missing. Michael slipped, jabbed, moved again. For the first time, Tua looked human, frustrated. The bell ended the round with the crowd standing, unsure what they'd just seen. Round 5 opened ugly. Tua came out swinging, landed a left hook that dropped Michael flat. The referee waved him to the corner. Moore climbed the ropes screaming to stop it. But Michael stirred, rolled over, and stood at 9. He looked at the ref and said, "I'm still counting." Allowed to continue, he somehow survived the last 30 seconds, taking blows that would have ended anyone else. At the bell, chaos broke loose, Moore yelling, the doctor arguing, the commission leaning into the ring. The ref gave one more round. The crowd screamed for mercy. Round 6, Michael danced again, somehow lighter, almost defiant. The commentators couldn't believe it. "He should be out cold," one said. "Instead, he's performing surgery." For half the round he peppered Tua with jabs and movement, blood flying with every punch. Then Tua landed one short right. Michael went limp against the ropes. The ref jumped in, waving it off. Technical knockout. The arena erupted. Half cheered, half booed, all stunned. Michael sat on the stool, eyes open, breathing slow, refusing oxygen. When the doctor tried to shine a light in his eyes, he muttered, "Don't worry, I saw it coming." But the story didn't end there. Hours later, backstage chaos erupted. News broke that Tua's gloves had been confiscated by the commission, illegal padding, not metal, but altered for hardness. His team swore ignorance, claiming sabotage. The footage went viral, officials opening gloves, pulling out irregular inserts. The win was under review within 24 hours. The scandal tore through boxing like wildfire. Sports networks ran loops of the knockdown alongside freeze frames of the gloves. Michael's camp stayed silent. Foreman went on television and said, "That kid doesn't need cheating to win." Somebody wanted noise. Within days, whispers started: gambling syndicates, rigged bets, backstage payoffs. The FBI launched an inquiry. Tua himself looked broken in the first interview. "I fight clean," he said quietly. "I don't need that." Reporters believed him. His promoter vanished from the spotlight 2 days later. The commission eventually ruled it a no contest. The knockout erased from records, both fighters paid, either satisfied. Michael refused to celebrate. "If he didn't know," he told Moore, "then he still beat me. He beat the body, not the record." But privately he couldn't let it go. His right hand still hurt, maybe fractured, maybe worse. X-rays revealed micro tears in the ligaments. Doctors told him 6 months minimum. He said he'd fight again in 3. The comeback headlines returned: Jackson survives the scandal. Tua cleared but haunted. The two men avoided interviews, but fate had other plans. When the FBI inquiry closed, the chairman of the boxing commission announced what everyone expected and feared: Jackson versus Tua 2, sanctioned for early 1997. "The world deserves closure," he said. Michael started rehab in silence. Every morning he punched a wall padded with newspaper until the pain dulled. "It's not the punch," he told his coach. "It's the moment before it. That's where fear lives." Tua, meanwhile, changed everything: new trainer, new camp, drug testing at every step. His press statement was short: "I'll fight him clean. Then they'll see." By winter, the posters were back: redemption or ruin. The public couldn't look away. Tyson, Foreman, Holyfield, all offered opinions. Holyfield said, "They'll destroy each other." Foreman said, "That's boxing. Sometimes redemption swings both ways." When weigh-in day came, Michael's right hand was still taped, but the doctor cleared him. Tua looked leaner, sharper, angrier. As they faced off, Michael smiled faintly. "No tricks this time?" Tua said. "No need." The cameras flashed. The crowd screamed. History was ready to watch a rematch that shouldn't exist. And somewhere deep inside, both men knew this fight wasn't about belts or records. It was about ghosts, pain, and the rhythm of survival in a sport that never forgave anyone for being human. They called it Redemption Night, but the garden felt more like a courtroom. Every light, every camera, every breath waited to see if the sport could wash its hands. Tua entered first, silent, no robe, no entourage, just a Samoan flag draped across his shoulders. He looked smaller than last time but sharper carved. Michael followed, his white trunk streaked with a single red stripe like a scar. The bandage under his glove was gone, but the rumor about his hand hadn't died. When the bell rang, nobody blinked. Round 1 was tense, technical. Tua moved cautiously, jabbing, testing the air between them. Michael circled, light on his feet, measuring distance like a sniper. Every sound in the arena, the pop of a glove, the squeak of a shoe, felt amplified. Halfway through, Michael landed a quick left-right that drew cheers, then slipped a counter that brushed his cheek. He smiled, faint but real. Tua nodded once. Respect but not friendship. The bell rang. Round 2, the energy shifted. Tua's jab started landing. Short, heavy, patient. Michael's rhythm began to hum again. 2 steps right, pivot left, double tap jab, fade back. He scored 3 times clean and the crowd roared, a familiar symphony. Then Tua caught him late with a body shot that took the air out of the building. Michael backed off, hand low, breathing shallow. The bell couldn't come soon enough. Round 3 was brutal chess. Tua hunted the body, Michael targeted the cut above Tua's right eye from the previous fight. Blood appeared within a minute. Tua wiped it, shrugged, kept pressing. Near the end of the round, Michael threw a looping hook that caught the temple perfectly. Tua staggered but didn't fall. The crowd went feral. The bell sounded as both swung at the same time, missing by inches. In his corner, Moore whispered, "He's younger. Don't fight his rhythm. Make him fight yours." Michael nodded, eyes calm, whispering, "He's still chasing thunder." Round 4, Tua came out angry. His power filled the ring. 2 overhands forced Michael to retreat. He blocked most, but each impact rattled his ribs. With 10 seconds left, a short uppercut broke through. Michael stumbled but stayed upright. The bell saved him again, but when he sat down, his chest heaved like an engine overheating. Moore saw it, the swelling over the ribs. "It's cracked," he muttered. Michael just said, "Then I won't breathe until he stops." Round 5 became survival. Michael moved non-stop, hitting on the run, landing 3-4-5 punches before darting away. Tua's frustration showed. He swung wild and missed. The crowd flipped sides now, chants of "Michael! Michael!" shook the rafters. Mid-round, a straight right split Tua's guard clean. Blood sprayed. The ref stepped in for the doctor, who waved it fine. The final seconds were chaos, both men trading in the pocket, sweat and blood mixing under the lights. Round 6, Tua changed tactics. He slowed down, cut off the ring, forced clinches. Inside, he whispered, "Still think you can dance?" Michael grinned through a mouthful of blood. "I never stopped." They broke, and Michael fired a triple combo that caught Tua flush on the jaw. The crowd gasped. Tua didn't move for half a second, then answered with a monstrous left that sent Michael tumbling. He hit the mat hard, rolled, grabbed the rope, stood at 8. The ref looked close to stopping it, but Michael met his eyes and said, "Don't steal the music yet." Round 7 was a heartbeat of war. Tua chased him, landing bombs, but Michael refused to fall again. He countered off angles, flicked jabs, landed a sneaky left hook that stunned the younger man. For the first time, Tua stepped backward. The bell rang with both men bleeding, either winning. By round 8, exhaustion replaced strategy. They fought on instinct. Tua's power dipped, Michael's speed dulled. Each exchange was slow motion, one man swinging a hammer, the other dodging with inches to spare. At the 1-minute mark, Michael ducked under a hook and threw an uppercut that connected perfectly. Tua went down. The garden exploded. The referee counted, 1, 2, 3, Tua up at 6, eyes clear, nodding. The fight continued. They traded until the bell. Between rounds, Moore begged him to box safe. "You've done enough. Don't let pride kill you," Michael said. "It's not pride. It's rhythm." Round 9, something cracked. Not bone, something in the crowd, in the energy. Tua's punches slowed but grew meaner. Michael's defense faltered, his right eye swelling shut. Then Tua landed a short right hand that flattened him again. The referee started counting. 7. 8. Michael stood, wobbled, gloves high. The doctor climbed the apron. Moore shouted him down. "He's fine!" The bell rang seconds later, saving him. Round 10 felt like an ending no one wanted. Both men were ruined, cuts, swelling, blood everywhere. But they kept going. Mid-round, Tua slipped on sweat, nearly fell, recovered, and laughed. Michael lunged forward with a left hook that caught him again. The crowd screamed. Foreman in commentary yelled, "He's stealing the fight back!" The last 30 seconds were pure madness. Tua cornered him, swung wide, missed, slipped again. Michael stepped in, pivoted, threw one last right cross that landed square. Both men froze, then Tua fired an instinctive counter left that caught Michael clean on the chin. The bell rang as he fell. The referee waved it over before the count. Knockout. The silence afterward was unreal. The crowd didn't know how to react. cheer the knockout or mourn the ending. Tua dropped to one knee, exhausted, muttering a prayer. Michael lay on the canvas, eyes open, blinking, trying to focus. He sat up within seconds, refused help, and stood on his own. The crowd gave a standing ovation. The medical team checked him, cleared him. The official announcement echoed. Winner by knockout in round 10. David Tua! The arena roared. Tua lifted Michael's hand in the air himself. Cameras caught the moment, the torch passing between legends. In the locker room later, reporters swarmed. More pushed them back. Michael sat with ice packs taped to his ribs, staring at the floor. A journalist asked if this was retirement. He smiled, weak but genuine. If I retire, who's left to listen? But the real twist came 2 weeks later. Footage from the fight leaked online, an angle nobody had seen. Slow motion showed something strange in round 10. As Michael threw his final punch, a ringside flashbulb popped in his face. He blinked just before Tua's counter landed. The photographer was traced to a sports betting syndicate already under investigation. The state commission called it unfortunate coincidence, but the rumor machine didn't care. Flashgate flooded the tabloids. Some claimed distraction, others called it excuse. The controversy turned the loss into legend. Tua, humiliated by the rumors, demanded a third fight to clear his name. The commission refused. Jackson's medical scans showed a hairline jaw fracture and 2 cracked ribs. Doctors ordered retirement. But Michael didn't sign the papers. By late 1998, he resurfaced in Tokyo doing exhibition bouts for charity. No judges, no stakes, just rhythm. One night after a match, a young Japanese heavyweight named Hidetaka Ishii asked for a spar. Michael obliged and got dropped by a single jab. He laughed when he got up. Guess the music's moving east, he said. A month later, ESPN ran a story quoting an anonymous source close to his camp. Jackson in talks for one last fight, an international farewell tour. The opponent wasn't named, but whispers said it wasn't Tua, wasn't Holyfield, wasn't Foreman. It was someone younger, faster, hungrier. A kid out of the UK named Lennox Lewis, newly crowned champion, tall enough to make even Michael look small. When reporters cornered him at the airport, he gave them the same cryptic calm he always did. If Tua was the storm, he said, Lennox is the sky after it. Looks peaceful, hides lightning. He boarded the plane without another word. Cameras caught the bandage peeking from his wrist again. Maybe healing, maybe hiding. The sports world buzzed. The man who had fought Tyson, Holyfield, Foreman, and Tua wasn't done yet. As the plane took off, one cameraman zoomed in through the window. Michael sat by himself, staring out at the clouds, mouthing something silently. Later, when the footage aired, fans slowed it down frame by frame, trying to read his lips. Some swore he said, I can still hear the bell. And once again, the world leaned forward, waiting for the next round. By the time Lennox Lewis entered the story, Michael Jackson had become mythology wrapped in scar tissue. 40 years old now, slower but still lethal, he'd fought everyone worth fighting. Tyson's rage, Holyfield's faith, Foreman's wisdom, Tua's brutality, all lived somewhere in his bones. The sport had changed, pay-per-view monsters, glossy sponsorships, trash talk replacing tension. Lewis was the new order, tall, clinical, polite in interviews and merciless in execution. He didn't brawl, he dismantled. His jab alone had retired men younger and meaner. I'll fight him, he said when asked about Jackson. But I don't fight ghosts. The contract was signed in London, 1999. Wembley Stadium booked out in a day. British tabloids plastered headlines, The Gentleman versus the Ghost. Commentators called it an unfair fight. Michael hadn't fought in 2 years. Lewis was at his peak. But when one reporter asked if he was worried about the age gap, Michael smiled. Age is rhythm too, he said. You just need a slower song. Training started in Los Angeles under Moore, who'd gone half gray and half mad from years in Michael's corner. Camp was different this time. No isolation, no theatrics. Just sparring, sweat and silence. They brought in tall sparring partners, all reach and jab. Michael spent weeks studying Lewis's rhythm, muttering counts under his breath like music theory. He jabs on the breath out, not the step, he told Moore. That's the hole. Moore didn't see it, but he trusted him. Lewis trained in Jamaica, all fundamentals. Heavy bag, roadwork, meditation. His team dismissed Michael as nostalgia bait. He's durable, one coach said. But durability doesn't beat geometry. Still, Lennox watched tape late at night, alone, rewinding slow-motion counters from the tour rematch. He sees too much, he muttered once. It's like he fights sound instead of sight. Fight week turned London into chaos. Reporters followed Michael through hotel lobbies, shouting questions about retirement, legacy, ghosts. He ignored all of it. Lewis smiled through every interview, calm and kingly. He's earned respect, he said, but I'm here to finish the book. The weigh-in drew 50,000 people. Lewis stood at 245, sculpted like a statue. Michael, lean at 208, looked carved out of tension. When they faced off, the height difference was absurd. Lewis towering 6'5", Michael barely 6. The photo ran on every paper with the caption "David meets another Goliath." June 10, 1999. Wembley under lights that looked like daylight. 90,000 in the stands. The British anthem echoed, then the American. Tyson, Holyfield, Foreman, even Tua sat ringside, silent. When Michael walked out, there was no glitter, no gimmick, just black trunks, black gloves, no robe. Lewis followed, focused, expressionless. The referee brought them together. Protect yourselves at all times. They touched gloves. Michael whispered, Don't blink. The bell rang. Round 1 was reconnaissance. Lewis pumped the jab like a piston, measuring distance, snapping Michael's head back twice. Michael tried to angle in, but the reach was impossible. He landed one clean body shot, nothing else. The crowd roared for every jab Lewis landed. British soil wanted blood. Michael returned to his corner breathing heavy, muttering. He counts in 4s. I'll break the 5th. Round 2, Michael switched tempo. He moved side to side, faster now, darting in under the jab to the body, landing small hooks that didn't hurt but scored. Lewis adjusted, firing uppercuts, missing by inches. The bell rang with both men grinning, the hunter realizing the prey could bite. Round 3, Lewis opened up. Double jab, right cross, left hook. The right landed flush. Michael's knees dipped. He stayed upright, tied him up, eyes blank. Moore screamed. Move, Mike! He moved, barely. The bell saved him. Cameras caught him spitting blood into a towel, whispering. He hits like truth. Round 4, everything slowed. Michael danced again, not fast, but unpredictable. He threw jabs from odd angles, forcing Lewis to reset. At mid-round he timed a counter, ducked under a jab and landed a right to the ribs so sharp the sound echoed. Lewis smiled through the pain but his breathing changed. By the end of the round, momentum felt balanced again. Round 5, the storm came. Lewis trapped him in the corner, unleashed 6 punches, 3 landing clean. Michael covered, rolled, slipped out somehow. The crowd gasped. He fired back with 2 hooks to the head, 1 to the body. Lewis shrugged them off and jabbed him back into the ropes. The bell couldn't come fast enough. Moore told him. He's walking you down. Michael answered. Let him. I'll walk him into himself. Round 6 began quietly, then chaos. Michael feinted left, stepped inside, landed an uppercut that stunned the champion. The roar rolled like thunder. Lewis blinked, shook it off, fired a jab, but too late. Michael hooked him again, this time flush. Lewis stumbled backward for the first time in years. The bell ended it before he could recover. The crowd was half shock, half awe. He rocked the champion, commentators shouted. Round 7, Lewis came out furious. His jab turned violent, snapping faster. 1, 2, 3 right cross. The third jab split Michael's eyebrow, blood streamed. Lewis followed, but Michael refused to fold. He kept countering, slipping inside, landing body shots that slowed the giant's steps. They traded until the bell. Round 8, fatigue crept in. Both men breathing heavy, gloves dropping lower. Lewis's power was still there, but his timing frayed. Michael's eye was closing fast. He fought half blind. Halfway through, a clash of heads opened a cut on Lewis's cheek. Blood dripped down both men now. The ring looked like a painting. The bell ended it with both refusing to back away. Round 9 was the fight distilled, skill versus spirit. Lewis jabbed relentlessly. Michael wove, countered, refused to yield. Each punch carried history. In the final seconds, Michael slipped a jab and landed a left hook so clean the crowd gasped. Lewis staggered, but the bell saved him. More screamed, "He's hurt! Finish him next round!" Michael nodded once. Round 10 started and ended in madness. Lewis came out guns blazing, knowing he might be down on points. Michael slipped the first few, but fatigue betrayed him. A right hand landed on his jaw like a car crash. He went down on one knee. The ref counted 4, 5, 6. He rose at 7, clear-eyed, defiant. Lewis charged again. Michael tied him up, whispered, "Not yet." The bell rang seconds later. Round 11, the tide turned again. Lewis slower now, Michael somehow faster. He landed combinations, not hard but precise. The crowd sensed something impossible, a late career miracle. The bell rang with Lewis bleeding from both eyebrows. Final round. Moore told him, "This is it. Steal it or survive it." He nodded. When the bell sounded, both men emptied what was left. Lewis jabbed, Michael countered. With 30 seconds left, Michael stepped inside, threw a 4-punch combo that snapped Lewis's head back. The crowd screamed. Then Lewis dug deep and landed a right uppercut from hell. Michael fell against the ropes, bounced, stayed upright. 10 seconds. He swung back, connecting with a desperate hook that made Lewis stumble. The bell rang. Both collapsed on their stools, breathing like engines. The crowd stood for 10 full minutes while judges tallied numbers. Judge 1, 114 to 113, Jackson. Judge 2, 115 to 112, Lewis. Judge 3, 114 to 114, draw. A collective sigh rippled through Wembley. Official result, draw. The crowd booed, then cheered, unsure which emotion fit. Lewis nodded, exhausted, bloodied but smiling. Michael's face was a mask of bruises, his cut leaking onto his chest. They met in the center and hugged. The microphones caught their voices. Lewis, hell of a fight. Michael, hell of a lesson. At the press conference, both looked half dead. Lewis told reporters, "He's not human. I hit him clean and he smiled." Michael said, "He's the mountain I didn't climb, but I'm still climbing." When someone asked about retirement, he grinned through a split lip. "Retire from what? Breathing?" 2 weeks later, footage from training surfaced. Michael running again, ribs taped, eye still bruised. A journalist cornered him outside a diner and asked what kept him going. He said, "I lost to time once. I won't let it go 2-1. That quote lit the sports world on fire. Rumors exploded of an exhibition series, maybe Japan again, maybe South Africa, maybe the Philippines. Lewis said he'd rematch. "If the ghosts call," Holyfield said. "He'll never stop until silence answers back." The final shot came months later. Grainy paparazzi video. Michael jogging alone at dawn, humming to himself. The camera caught him shadowboxing against nothing, smiling faintly as the sun rose. Someone shouted, "You done fighting?" He didn't look back. He just kept moving, whispering something lost to the wind. When the audio was enhanced later, fans argued over what he said. Some swore it was no more bells. Others insisted it was still dancing. Either way, the world believed him. Until the next time he proved them wrong. The draw didn't sit right with anyone. Not the fans, not the press, not the fighters. In London pubs and American gyms, arguments turned into fistfights. Half said Lewis won clean, half said Michael had outworked him. The newspapers called it unfinished business. Pay-per-view networks called it money on the table. Within a week, the rematch was already being negotiated behind closed doors. Michael didn't wait for the call. He was back in the gym 2 days after flying home. He didn't spar. He ran. 10 miles every dawn, headphones silent, breathing synced to a rhythm only he could hear. His ribs still hurt, his eyes swelled shut when he slept, but he didn't care. "He thinks I'm a memory," he told Moore. "I'll remind him I'm still noise." Lewis took longer to recover. He spent a month in Jamaica, resting, swimming, smiling politely for the cameras. But behind the calm, something burned. "I didn't come here for mateys," he told his trainer, Emmanuel Stewart. "I want a result." Stewart nodded. "Then you'll get one. But next time, don't box him. Break him." The rematch was scheduled for spring 2000, Las Vegas. The billing read resolution. The world had changed since Wembley, new champions, new scandals, but the rivalry pulled everyone back in. "Boxing's last poem," one commentator called it. "Two men who refused to let silence win." Michael's camp turned brutal. No music, no cameras. Just grind. Sparring partners came and left, all broken by his pace. He trained barefoot on concrete, sprinted in desert heat until he puked, hit the heavy bag until his knuckles split open. Moore tried to slow him down. "You're killing yourself," Michael said. "Good. Maybe he'll smell it on me." Meanwhile, Lewis went scientific. Nutritionists, data analysts, motion sensors. Every jab tracked, every calorie logged. Stewart's plan was simple: double the jab, cut the ring, smother the rhythm. "He needs space to dance," Stewart told reporters. "We'll give him a phone booth instead." The press tour was civil, almost eerie. No insults, no showboating. Just two men who knew too much about each other. When asked about Michael, Lewis said, "He's the most durable man alive. But durability is not immortality." Michael smiled when told. "Immortality's just rhythm people remember." Fight week crackled with tension. Foreman, Holyfield, Tyson, all at ringside again, old ghosts circling. Every seat in the MGM Grand sold out. Before the fight, Moore looked at Michael in the locker room, eyes tired. "This one's different, huh?" Michael wrapped his hands slowly. "It's the same song," he said. "But I changed the tempo." The bell rang and history started again. Round 1 was cagey. Lewis jabbed, testing, Michael moving light on his feet, sharper than the last time. His eyes were alive, his timing perfect. He slipped 2 jabs, countered to the body, and smiled. Lewis stayed patient, keeping him at bay, measuring. The round ended even. Round 2, Lewis's plan unfolded. Constant jab pressure, stepping left to trap Michael. Each time Michael tried to pivot out, Lewis was there. The jab stung, the right hand waited. Michael's rhythm faltered. At the end of the round, Lewis landed a right cross that shook him. The crowd felt the shift. Round 3, Michael adjusted. He feinted more, baiting the jab, countering to the ribs. It worked. Lewis slowed half a step. Michael pounced, landing a clean 3-punch combination that made the arena roar. The bell rang with both men glaring, no nods, no words. Round 4 was vicious. Lewis caught him early with an uppercut that split his lip. Blood poured. Michael grinned through it, firing back, trading recklessly. 2 punches later, Lewis's nose began bleeding. The crowd lost its mind. Both corners screamed for control, neither fighter listened. The bell stopped chaos. Round 5, fatigue whispered in early. Lewis leaned on him, using weight and reach, forcing clinches. Michael's breath shortened, his legs slowed. Then came the twist, a clash of heads. Unintentional, but ugly. Lewis's left eyebrow split wide open. Blood everywhere. The doctor checked it, let it continue. The crowd roared approval. Round 6, both men fought like time was running out. Michael's hands blurred, but his face was swelling. Lewis's jab still snapped like a whip. Then, halfway through, Michael slipped under a right cross and landed a left hook that staggered the champion. The crowd erupted. Lewis grabbed him, clinched tight, smearing blood on Michael's shoulder. When they broke, both were smiling, the grin of men who lived for this exact kind of pain. Round 7, the war became psychological. Michael stopped throwing combinations, just one clean shot at a time, moving like smoke. Lewis hunted but missed. At the 10-second clap, Michael landed a looping right hand that rocked him again. The bell saved Lewis this time. Moore yelled, "He's there! Finish him!" Michael whispered, "Not yet. Let him forget how it feels." Round 8, Lewis came out angry. He battered Michael with jabs 3, 4, 5 in a row. The younger man's power met the older man's stubbornness. Mid-round, Lewis threw a short hook that dropped Michael to a knee. The count started. He rose at 7, gloves up, nodding. The bell rang seconds later. Round 9, blood everywhere. Both exhausted. Every punch heavy. Michael landed one more left hook that split Lewis's mouth. They traded until the bell, crowd screaming nonstop. Round 10 was where things twisted again. Lewis missed a right hand and his glove brushed Michael's eye. The contact looked minor. Within seconds, Michael blinked, stepped back, shaking his head. The ref paused the fight, accidental eye poke. The doctor leaned in, checked. "He can continue." They resumed, but something was wrong. Michael's left eye wouldn't open fully. Lewis saw it instantly. Round 11 was cruelty disguised as tactics. Lewis circled left, targeting the bad side. Every jab found home. Michael's defense broke. He tried countering blind, swinging at shadows. Then came a brutal right uppercut. He fell backward, hit the ropes, bounced up at 9. The ref hesitated. Michael yelled, "Let it play!" The bell rang seconds later. Round 12, the endgame. Moore begged him to quit. "You can't see." Michael smiled faintly. "Then I'll listen." He walked out, blind in one eye, guided by rhythm. Lewis threw bombs. Michael slipped half, absorbed half, still standing. With 10 seconds left, he stepped in close, ducked a jab, and threw a left to the body so sharp it made Lewis grunt. The bell ended it. Both men embraced before the announcement. Neither cared who'd won. Judge 1, 115 to 112, Lewis. Judge 2, 114 to 113, Jackson. Judge 3, 114 to 114, draw. Another draw. The crowd went insane, cheers, boos, disbelief. The sport's two smartest men had fought twice and solved nothing. In the press room, Lewis said, "We could fight forever and it'd still be even." Michael smiled, one eye swollen shut. "Then maybe forever's the point." But the controversy didn't stop there. Slow-motion replays showed something ugly. That glove brushing his eye wasn't an accident. From another angle, it looked deliberate, a subtle rake across the eyelid. Lewis denied it completely, but the whispers spread. Fans called it the scratch. The commission reviewed the footage. No ruling ever came. The scandal only made the fight bigger. Pay-per-view records shattered. Reporters asked Michael if he'd sue. He said, "I don't sue music for being loud. I just turn it up." Within a week, rumors of a trilogy filled every sports headline. The final verse. He went straight back to training. No vacation, no recovery. "He blinded you," Moore shouted one night. "And you're still fighting him?" Michael just smiled. "He showed me how to fight in the dark." After the second draw, boxing didn't sleep for weeks. Every talk show, every radio host, every pub in London and Detroit had the same argument. Who really won? No one cared about belts anymore. The sport itself was split in two. The commission called it one of the greatest rivalries in heavyweight history. Michael called it unfinished rhythm. Lewis just said, "Let's settle it before the calendar does." The contract was signed in record time. No rematch clause, no debate. One fight to end it all. The venue? Madison Square Garden. The ghost comes home. One headline read. Date, April 2001. The name, Judgment Rhythm. The stakes went beyond legacy. Lewis was aging but still champion. Michael was 42, body battered but eyes sharp as ever. Foreman joked on live TV. If they fight again, we'll need a priest instead of a referee. Holyfield said. That fight won't crown a champion, it'll bury one. Training camps turned into war zones. Lewis's camp rebuilt him from the ground up. Emmanuel Stewart brought in southpaws, pressure fighters, even ballet instructors to study Michael's rhythm. If he dances, Stewart said, you've got to learn the steps. Lewis shadowboxed in silence for hours, visualizing every slip and counter. His mantra became simple. Don't chase. Corner. Michael's camp in Arizona was brutal. He trained at night, chasing shadows under floodlights. His left eye had healed, but vision was half blurred. He didn't care. Moore tried to reason with him. You've got nothing left to prove, Michael said. Then this isn't proof. It's punctuation. The press smelled blood. Every interview, every photo, every stare down became theater. At the press conference, Lewis wore a suit, composed, calm. Michael arrived in plain clothes, hoodie up, tape still wrapped around his knuckles. When a reporter asked if he was fighting for revenge, he smiled faintly. No. Revenge is chaos. I'm fighting for quiet. Lewis looked at him and said, Quiet doesn't belong in the ring. They shook hands, firm, almost respectful. The cameras caught it. The look of two men who'd seen too much of each other's souls to hate. 2 weeks before the fight, rumors started again. An anonymous source leaked medical reports suggesting Michael's vision in his left eye hadn't fully returned. His camp denied it. He sees fine. Moore snapped. But the footage from training told another story. Michael slipping right, never left, always guarding the blind side. Sports magazines speculated endlessly. Lewis stayed silent, but his sparring shifted focus. Everything targeted the left. Days before the fight, tragedy struck boxing. An undercard fighter collapsed in training and died from a brain bleed. The commission nearly postponed the event. Michael called them personally. Don't cancel. The dead don't need silence. The living do. The words went viral overnight. Fight week hit New York like a fever. Fans from 3 continents flooded the city. Outside the Garden, posters plastered on walls read "No more draws." Tyson was there. Holyfield too. Even Tua flew in, sitting quietly in the 3rd row. Foreman, older now, worked commentary, his deep voice promising history. April 21, 2001. The Garden was a cathedral again. Flashbulbs like lightning. Lewis entered first, robe heavy, hood low, calm as stone. Michael followed, stripped of glamour, all purpose. No music, no intro, just the sound of his footsteps. When they met in the center, the crowd fell silent. The ref spoke. They nodded. The bell rang. Round 1 was slow violence. Lewis jabbed, sharp and exact, feeling distance. Michael bobbed, head movement pure instinct. His timing still deadly. He slipped 2, countered with a quick body shot, landed a left hook. The crowd roared. Lewis smirked. Good start, old man. Michael said nothing. Round 2, Lewis's plan unfolded. He used reach, bullied him backward, peppered him with jabs. Each one like a hammer tap. Michael countered but missed more than he hit. The bell ended it with Lewis ahead. Round 3, the rhythm returned. Michael found his groove, side steps, feints, double jabs, a clean counter right that snapped Lewis's head. The arena came alive. The bell rang with both men swinging. Round 4, the crowd got their money's worth. Lewis landed 2 brutal hooks that split Michael's lip. Michael fired back with a straight right that wobbled the champion. For a moment, time froze. Both men stood center ring, bleeding, breathing, smiling. Foreman's voice echoed from commentary. They're not boxing anymore. They're remembering who they are. Round 5, the tempo slowed. Michael's footwork softened. Lewis took control, controlling range. Then, out of nowhere, Michael threw a wild combination, jab, hook, uppercut, that missed completely. The crowd gasped. Lewis grinned. "You're tired." Michael smiled back. "You're wrong." Round 6 was carnage. Lewis landed a thunderous right cross that dropped Michael to one knee. The count started, 5, 6, 7. He rose at 8, blinking through sweat and blood. The ref asked if he was okay. "Still dancing," he said. The crowd exploded. He survived the round, staggering back to his stool. Moore leaned close. "You can't win points now. You gotta take him out." Michael whispered. "I'm trying to take time out." Round 7, Michael came alive. Something primal. He attacked from the bell, faster than anyone expected. He slipped inside, landed 4 straight to the body, then a looping hook that stunned Lewis. The crowd lost its mind. For 30 seconds he dominated, forcing the champion to retreat. But Lewis's chin held. When the bell rang, both were drenched, both shaking their heads, either broken. Round 8, fatigue claimed them both. Punches slowed. Lewis jabbed one too many times, and Michael timed it perfectly, a counter right to the temple. Lewis stumbled. The crowd screamed. Michael chased, throwing everything he had left. The bell saved Lewis by seconds. The garden shook with noise. Round 9, Lewis's pride saved him. He came out angry, throwing combinations that rattled Michael's ribs. 2 shots landed flush. Michael bent forward, grabbed the ropes, barely standing. The ref hovered. He pushed off, hands up, refusing mercy. The bell ended it. Round 10, something eerie happened. The lights flickered for a split second, power surge. The crowd gasped. The fighters didn't stop. They traded in darkness for half a second before the arena relit. Foreman's commentary caught it. "That's how legends fight, don't even need light." Round 11, the noise turned desperate. Lewis chased the finish, but Michael slipped, ducked, and countered like a man possessed. He landed one more perfect hook that snapped Lewis's head sideways. The crowd erupted. But instead of following up, he stepped back. Smiled. Let the bell end it. Final round. The entire arena stood. Lewis ahead on 2 cards, Michael behind on all. He needed a knockout. The bell rang. He came forward, no hesitation, every punch thrown from his soul. Lewis met him head on. They traded like gods fighting extinction. 1 minute left. Lewis landed a right cross. Michael countered with an uppercut. Sweat sprayed like rain. 10 seconds left. Michael feinted, threw one last right hand. It landed. Lewis staggered but didn't fall. The bell rang. Both men collapsed into the ropes, arms hanging. No celebration, no taunting. Just silence. The decision took forever. The crowd waited, breath held. Judge 1, 114-113, Jackson. Judge 2, 115-113, Lewis. Judge 3, 114-114. A third draw. The building shook from disbelief. The referee lifted both their hands. The rivalry had gone full circle, 3 fights, no winner. At the press conference, Lewis leaned into the mic, face bruised and swollen. "He's the only man who never let me be comfortable," he said. Michael smiled, voice hoarse. "That's rhythm. It lives where comfort dies." Reporters begged for a 4th fight. Michael shook his head. "3's a song. 4's noise." He stood, walked away, leaving flashbulbs bursting behind him. But the story didn't end there. That night, footage surfaced, a fan video showing Michael limping backstage, his knee buckling, his hand clutching his ribs. He refused the stretcher, whispering, "One more step." The clip went viral. Doctors later revealed multiple fractures, a torn ligament, partial retinal damage. The commission quietly recommended suspension. Michael ignored it. 2 months later, cameras found him jogging again, slow, steady, humming softly. When asked why he wouldn't stop, he said, "Because somewhere out there, someone's still counting." And that's how the Third War ended, not with a winner, but with two men who proved that rhythm and reason could coexist, at least until the bell rang again. Time moved on, but the echoes didn't. The trilogy aged into legend, the kind of story barbers told between haircuts, and old trainers argued about over whiskey. Michael disappeared again. No interviews, no endorsements, no sightings for almost 3 years. Rumors said he'd gone blind in one eye, that his knee never healed, that he was teaching kids in Detroit gyms. Every few months someone would swear they'd seen him jogging at dawn, wrapped in tape and silence. The sport called him retired. He never said the word. Lennox Lewis kept fighting. He defended twice, unified the belts, then quietly left before time could take him too. Retirement suited him, calm voice, commentary gigs, smart suits. When reporters asked about Jackson, he always smiled. "We settled it 3 times. Sometimes even God needs 3 tries. But under the smile lived something restless. He'd watch old tape and pause on the same frame, Michael slipping under a jab, blood dripping, eyes smiling. "He knew," Lewis muttered once. "He knew every rhythm I had." In 2004, a charity event in Los Angeles brought them into the same room for the first time in years. Cameras waited for tension, they got laughter. Lewis hugged him. "You still running from me?" Michael's voice rasped. "Just keeping tempo." They spoke for an hour backstage, no audience, 2 men sharing war stories. When Lewis left, someone caught him wiping his eyes. That should have been the ending. But boxing hates endings. By 2005 the sport was desperate. Pay-per-view sales had plummeted, heavyweights were dull again. Promoters started whispering the impossible, Jackson, Lewis for exhibition. At first both camps denied it. Then one morning a grainy photo leaked, Michael training on a pier at sunrise, hands wrapped, shadowboxing with the ocean. The caption read "The Beat returns." Within a week, an offer arrived. 10-round exhibition, no knockouts, for charity. The number of zeros on the check turned "no" into "maybe." Lewis hesitated. "We'll look ridiculous," he told Stewart. Stewart grinned. "Legends don't look ridiculous. They look remembered." Michael called Moore, who was living in Arizona on a bad hip. "You're done," Moore said. "They'll kill you in there." Michael replied. "It's not a fight. It's rehearsal for silence." Moore sighed and booked a flight. Training looked nothing like before. They sparred light, stretched long, laughed sometimes. Michael's reflexes were slower, but the precision was still uncanny. He could still find rhythm in nothing. One day a young reporter asked why he came back. Michael smiled. "Because the bell didn't say stop. It said wait." Lewis trained easy too, more out of nostalgia than hunger. "We're not kids," he told the press. "We're teachers now." But when footage of Michael's sharp counters hit the internet, the tone changed. Commentators started asking, "What if it isn't just exhibition?" July 2nd, 2005, Madison Square Garden again. Sold out in 90 minutes. Foreman on commentary, voice thick with pride. Tyson and Holyfield in the front row, their rivalry forgotten for one night. The crowd didn't come for blood, they came for ghosts. When the fighters entered, something sacred filled the air. Lewis walked in first, robe gold, smile calm. Michael followed, no music, no robe, just black trunks. He bowed to each corner, then to Lewis. The bell rang. Round 1 was a whisper of the past. Lewis jabbed light, Michael slipped, countered softly. The crowd cheered, every touch like history repeating in slow motion. Round 2, they loosened up, throwing real shots. Lewis's eyes lit up. Michael grinned back. The years fell away. Round 3, a small accident shifted everything. Lewis missed a jab and his glove grazed Michael's scarred eye, the same one from the old wars. Michael blinked, waved it off, kept fighting. The crowd went quiet. He landed 2 quick body shots, sharp enough to remind everyone he wasn't here for nostalgia. Round 4, Lewis returned the favor, an uppercut that sent sweat flying. The referee stepped between them, reminding it was exhibition. They nodded, then went right back to trading. The crowd sensed it. The old fire was awake. By round 5, both corners were yelling to slow down. Nobody listened. Lewis's jab snapped again. Michael's counters sliced air. They weren't chasing points. They were chasing ghosts. At the bell, they touched gloves, laughing through blood. Round 6 began like thunder. Michael opened with a hook that landed flush. Lewis stumbled, not hurt, just shocked. He grinned. "That all you got left?" Michael whispered. "Always enough." The crowd exploded. They forgot it was charity. Mid-round, something strange happened. The arena lights dimmed slightly, power draw from the cameras, and in that half-second shadow, Lewis threw a right cross that clipped Michael's chin. He wobbled but stayed up. When the lights steadied, the crowd gasped. Both men were smiling again. Foreman muttered into the mic. "They're writing their own eulogy." Rounds 7 and 8 blurred into one rhythm. Jab, counter, grin, repeat. Nobody cared who landed more. The audience was crying, cheering, reliving 20 years of violence and grace. Then came round 9. Lewis landed a heavy body shot that made Michael wince. Moore yelled from the corner to stop. Michael waved him off and unleashed a flurry. 10 punches, pure instinct. None missed. The referee stepped in, shouting, "Light, gentlemen, light!" They ignored him. Lewis countered with a left hook that sent Michael spinning halfway across the ring. The crowd screamed. He caught himself on the ropes, straightened, nodded. "Still here," he mouthed. The bell rang. Both corners stood instead of sitting. Stewart and Moore locked eyes across the ring, old generals realizing their soldiers still hadn't learned peace. Round 10, the last. They met center ring, no touch of gloves, no pretense. They traded like men trying to remember who they were. Lewis landed a clean right. Michael answered with 3 to the body. 30 seconds left. Lewis jabbed. Michael slipped and fired one final uppercut. It landed perfect. Not hard enough to drop him, but enough to freeze the crowd in that familiar silence. The bell rang. When it was over, either man celebrated. They hugged so tight their gloves squeaked. Cameras caught Lewis whispering, "That's it." Michael answered, "Until it isn't." The judges scored it 97 to 97, a draw again. The audience laughed, then stood, applauding for nearly 10 minutes. It wasn't the score that mattered. It was the sound. The bell had rung again, and both had answered. In the locker room, reporters begged for words. Michael sat on the bench, ice pack pressed to his ribs. "Was that really an exhibition?" someone shouted. He smiled, teeth pink with blood. "Depends what you were watching." 2 days later, newspapers ran side-by-side photos. 2 old warriors grinning like boys. They couldn't finish each other. One headline read, "So they finished time." But one clip from that night went viral weeks later. A fan filming after the broadcast, catching Michael alone in the empty ring. He was still in his gloves, still humming. A janitor passed and asked if he needed help. Michael said softly, "No, I'm just waiting for the bell." Lewis retired again officially. Michael didn't file any papers. He vanished quietly. Some said he opened a gym in Manila. Others claimed they saw him training barefoot in Rio. One photographer swore he spotted him ringside at a youth tournament in Mexico City, clapping after every round. When journalists asked Lewis years later if they'd ever fight again, he smiled. "Only if heaven's got judges." And somewhere, in a gym that smelled of dust and echoes, a man with scarred hands wrapped in tape threw slow punches into a bag, breathing steady, listening for a sound only he could hear, the faint ring of a bell that never really stopped. By 2007, Michael Jackson had become more myth than man. Not the pop icon, he'd long shed that skin, but the fighter. The boxer who went toe-to-toe with Tyson, Foreman, Holyfield, Tua, and Lewis and walked away breathing. Every documentary, every highlight reel ended with the same line, "He never lost." Not really. But no one knew where he was. The legend grew in pieces. A gym owner in Manila swore Michael trained there under the name M.J. Reeves. A fisherman in Rio claimed he sparred with him at dawn for $100 and a beer. A street vendor in Mexico said an old man with lightning reflexes once stopped a mugger mid-punch without blinking. Every story contradicted the last, but the pattern was always the same: a phantom in gloves, still listening for a bell only he could hear. Meanwhile, boxing itself fell apart. The heavyweight division turned dull. Too safe. Too polite. Promoters tried to build the next Michael, but the fire wasn't there. One bright prospect, Andre "Silk" Jameson, looked promising, slick, fast, all flash. He called himself the Rhythm's heir. His promoter even claimed Michael had trained him once in secret. "The man touched my gloves," Jameson said in an interview. "Said I had the beat." That line made headlines. Fans ran wild. Was Michael alive? Training fighters again? A blurry video surfaced a month later. An old man with a lean frame holding mitts for a young boxer in a dim gym somewhere in Argentina. The clip had no sound, just gloves hitting leather, but the rhythm was unmistakable. Every boxing fan in the world knew it instantly. Lewis saw the clip on TV one night. He laughed softly. "He's haunting the sport," he told Stewart, who just smiled. "Maybe the sport deserves it." By 2008, the myth had turned into movement. A film studio announced a beat that wouldn't die, a biopic, loosely inspired by his life. It was full of errors, wrong dates, made-up rivalries, dramatic slow-motion scenes that never happened. The actor playing Michael was too young, too smooth. But the final shot, him standing in an empty ring, eyes closed, listening, made audiences cry. A week after the movie's release, reporters received anonymous emails, short, typed, no name attached. Each had the same sentence: "The beat is still alive. Check Vegas." Attached was a grainy photo of a man in a hoodie wrapping his hands in an empty gym. The timestamp read 2:43 a.m. The gym was found abandoned. Dust, old posters, broken mirrors. But on the heavy bag, written in chalk, were two words: "Next round." The world lost its mind. Sports channels debated nonstop. Was it a hoax? A stunt? A secret training comeback? Journalists camped in Vegas gyms, chasing ghosts. Moore, who was now in a wheelchair, told one interviewer, "He's alive. I know that rhythm anywhere. But if he's training again, it's not for money. It's for peace." And then came the twist. In 2009, during a charity exhibition in New York for retired fighters, the main event featured none other than Andre "Silk" Jameson, the self-proclaimed heir to Michael's rhythm, against a former champion. It was meant to be friendly. 2 rounds. Gloves oversized, no knockouts. But halfway through the fight, something strange happened. Jameson dropped his opponent with a counter so fast the cameras barely caught it. The crowd gasped. Commentators replayed it in slow motion. The movement, the step, the pivot, it was pure Michael Jackson. Identical. Even the way he reset his stance afterward. Reporters swarmed him after. "Where'd you learn that move?" Jameson smiled. "Let's just say the rhythm taught me." That night a new rumor surfaced. Someone claimed to have seen Michael backstage before the fight. Hood up, face half covered, hand tapping his thigh in tempo. Security footage was conveniently corrupted. A week later, a gym owner in Nevada received a handwritten letter. It had no return address, just a message: train them to listen, not to punch. Signed with a single letter, M. By 2010, the myth reached fever pitch. Fans organized rhythm runs in major cities, 5K charity races where participants moved to a metronome instead of music. Old footage of his fights trended again online, edited with orchestral soundtracks, turning punches into choreography. Colleges taught the philosophy of the beat, comparing his boxing style to jazz, to chaos theory, even to philosophy. Lewis gave one last interview that year. When asked if he believed Michael was still alive, he said, "Alive? He's boxing's heartbeat. Every time a kid steps in a ring and finds timing, that's him." The interviewer pressed, But do you think he'll ever come back? Lewis smiled faintly. If he does, it won't be for us. It'll be because the bell rang again. And in 2011, that's exactly what happened. A small underground fight in Buenos Aires, no cameras, no crowd, just a handful of boxers and locals betting pesos. A young heavyweight named Raul Mendez claimed an old man with a hood had asked to spar. I thought he was crazy, Mendez said later. Then he moved. Within 30 seconds, Mendez was on the canvas. He didn't hit me hard, he told reporters. He just disappeared and reappeared. The old man patted him on the shoulder, said, "You listen too slow," and walked out. Someone caught the tail end of it on a phone camera. The clip hit YouTube the next day. The comments section exploded. It's him. Look at the stance. That step. That rhythm. The ghost is back. By the end of the week, mainstream news picked it up. SportsCenter ran a segment titled The Return of the Rhythm. Theories flew everywhere. AI, look-alike, deep fake. But those who'd seen him fight swore it wasn't imitation. It was muscle memory carved into time itself. When reporters reached out to Moore for comment, he just laughed. You think ghosts die twice? That same year, Lewis received a package at his home in Jamaica. Inside was a VHS tape. No label. When he played it, it showed a dim gym, a bag swinging alone, and a faint tapping sound, a glove hitting leather. After 20 seconds, a voice, low and calm. Still waiting for your count, champ. Then silence. Lewis called Stewart that night. He's alive, he said. I think he wants one more. Stewart sighed. You gonna answer? Lewis didn't reply. But the next morning, he was jogging again. And somewhere far away, in a half-lit gym smelling of dust and sweat, a man wrapped his hands slowly, exhaled once, and began moving, left, right, jab, slip, breathe. The rhythm was slower now, aged, but still precise. A camera caught him from behind, grainy, unclear, but when the clip surfaced, fans noticed something chilling. On the wall behind the heavy bag, scrawled in chalk, "Bell rings soon." And for the first time in years, the world waited in silence, counting under its breath. 1, 2, 3. Then the rhythm started again. By 2013, boxing had become polite again. Everyone thanked sponsors, everyone smiled for cameras, and everyone was bored. The sport missed its monsters. That's when a whisper started online. Tyson versus Jackson, one last time. It sounded impossible. Tyson was nearly 47, semi-retired, more philosopher than fighter now. He did podcasts, raised pigeons, apologized to the world for his old chaos. But beneath the calm, something restless twitched. Every interview circled back to the same regret. I never fought that man, he'd say. He took everything from me without touching me. He stole the crown of fear. So when an anonymous promoter offered a private exhibition in Dubai, no judges, no crowd, just invited witnesses, Tyson laughed, then said yes. I gotta know, he told his team. Is the ghost real, or did we dream him? Michael was harder to find. Rumor placed him in Thailand, living quietly near Chiang Mai, training monks in breathing and rhythm. When the Dubai offer came, he didn't hesitate. He sent one message, the bell rings, I answer. They met at a press conference that wasn't really a press conference, just a table, 2 chairs, a few cameras. Tyson looked thick, solid, tattoos faded but still menacing. Michael looked carved out of air, thin, eyes dark, silence heavy. Tyson leaned forward. You sure you want to do this? Michael smiled faintly. I've been doing this since silence learned to count. The fight was set for October 12, 2013, in an old warehouse on the outskirts of Dubai converted into a ring. No tickets, no sponsors. The guest list read like a myth. Lewis, Holyfield, Foreman, even Tua. Cameras banned. Phones sealed. Only one official recording allowed, locked footage for archives. When the night came, the desert air hung still, hot enough to shimmer. The ring glowed white under floodlights. No national anthems, no announcers. Just two men who had run out of time and refused to stop. Tyson entered shirtless, gloves red, breathing slow through his nose. Michael walked in barefoot, black trunks, no tape on his knees, no hood. They touched gloves once. Tyson whispered, "I'm not gonna hold back." Michael said, "Good. I came for truth." The bell rang. Round 1 exploded like a memory. Tyson lunged forward with that old peekaboo fury, hooks like gunfire. Michael slipped the first, the second, but the third grazed his temple hard enough to rattle the lights. The crowd, 50 people at most, froze. Michael danced out of range, jabbing, measuring, testing the monster's timing. Tyson grinned. "You still quick," he said between breaths. Michael answered with a body shot that echoed off the walls. Round 2, Tyson cornered him early, ripping uppercuts. Michael clinched, whispered something, then pushed off and snapped a straight left that stunned him. Tyson blinked. Nobody had stunned him like that in years. He laughed. "You got me." They went back to war. Round 3, the years started to show. Michael's legs slowed, Tyson's wind shortened. Every movement looked like pain dressed as grace. Tyson landed a brutal right to the ribs. Michael folded for a heartbeat, then countered with a hook that drew blood from Tyson's nose. The sound of leather on flesh filled the warehouse. No music, no crowd, just raw rhythm. Round 4 was hell. Tyson unleashed the old beast. Head movement, short bursts, combinations that shook the ring. Michael absorbed 2, 3, 4 shots, still standing, still moving. Moore wasn't there to yell anymore. He'd died the previous winter. But his voice lived in Michael's head. Don't fight his power. Fight his breath. So he did. He began timing Tyson's exhales, sliding inside, touching him with short, surgical punches. Tap. 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 Each one drew a growl. Round 5 turned bloody. Tyson landed a hook so clean it split Michael's cheek open from ear to mouth. Blood streamed, bright and steady. The ref stepped in. Michael shoved him away. "Don't stop rhythm," he said, voice muffled through the mouthpiece. Tyson came again, snarling now, a blur of muscle and fury. Michael met him head-on, trading for the first time in the fight. Hook for hook, sweat flying, both men grinning like lunatics who understood that pain was home. The bell ended it. They touched gloves again, neither sitting down. Round 6 opened with silence so heavy you could hear their breathing echo. Tyson feinted, stepped in, missed a left, and caught a sharp counter straight to the jaw. For a split second his legs buckled. The room gasped. Tyson smiled, nodded, whispered, "Okay." Then he exploded. 5 punches in 2 seconds, the last uppercut catching Michael flush on the chin. He went down. He stayed on one knee, eyes open, blood dripping. The ref counted 4, 5, 6. Michael rose at 7, steady. "Still here." Tyson's smile vanished. He charged again. Michael ducked, countered to the body, then to the head, then disappeared behind a pivot that made even the veterans gasp. He wasn't faster anymore, but his timing had become prophecy. Round 7 bled into madness. Tyson's stamina cracked. Michael's body looked broken but alive. Each jab from Tyson found bone. Each counter from Michael found silence. The room began to smell like iron. At the bell, they embraced briefly, 2 men too tired to fake hate. Tyson whispered, "One more and I'm done." Michael said, "Then let's make it music." Round 8. The final of the night. Tyson stormed forward. Michael circled, breathing heavy. They traded like gods in ruins. Left. Right. Hook. Counter. Blood sprayed across the white canvas like paint. 30 seconds left. Tyson trapped him in the corner, landed a crushing uppercut. Michael dropped to a knee again, looked up, and smiled through a crimson mouthguard. He stood, hands down, and whispered, "Finish it." Tyson swung. Michael slipped. Countered. Once. Twice. The second punch landed on Tyson's jaw, perfect, surgical, final. Tyson froze, eyes wide. He didn't fall. He stepped back, nodded once, and raised his gloves himself. The bell rang. Both men leaned into each other, breathing the same ragged air. No judges. No crowd reaction. Just the sound of heartbeats and a faint, dying echo of the bell. Afterward, the medics insisted on hospital runs. Tyson refused. Michael refused. They sat on the apron side by side, gloves still on, watching the cleanup crew wipe the blood from the canvas. Tyson said quietly, "You never were human, were you?" Michael smiled faintly. "Neither were you when it mattered." The warehouse emptied by dawn. The footage, raw, unedited, was locked in a vault. Both camps agreed it would never be released until one of them died. And yet, weeks later, a single still frame leaked, 2 fighters seated on the canvas, blood running down their faces, smiling. The caption read respect. The world went insane again. Analysts tried to guess who'd won. Some swore Tyson, others said Jackson. Nobody knew. But those who were there that night, all 50 of them, told the same story. It wasn't about winning. It was about surviving one last rhythm before silence. And somewhere, months later, when reporters tried to track Michael again, they found nothing. Just an empty gym. A bag swinging. And on the wall, scrawled in chalk, "Round 9 soon." The world thought it was over after Dubai. The leaked photo, the silence, the rumors, all of it seemed like a natural ending. But legends don't fade, they echo. And in 2015, the echo turned into one last rumble. Tyson was in Los Angeles giving a talk on redemption when someone handed him an envelope. No name, no address. Inside, a plane ticket to Tokyo and a short note. One last count. He laughed, but it wasn't funny. He called Lewis. "You think it's him?" Lewis said. "If it isn't, somebody's about to die pretending." 3 weeks later, Tyson arrived at an underground gym in Shibuya, one of those concrete basements where the air smells like sweat, dust, and ghosts. The lights were dim, the ring old. Sitting on the stool in the far corner, gloves already on, was Michael. Older now. Wrinkles, gray stubble, a faint tremor in his left hand. But his eyes still carried that rhythm, calm and unblinking. Tyson stepped inside the ring, no cameras, no crowd. Just 2 men and a referee who looked too young to understand what was happening. "You really want to do this again?" Tyson asked quietly. Michael nodded once. "I never stopped." No music. No introductions. Just the dull clang of the bell. Round 1 was slow, measured, patient. Tyson circled like a shark testing the water. Michael stayed centered, shoulders relaxed, eyes locked. They traded single shots, no combos. A jab. A body shot. The sound of leather echoed against concrete. Tyson smiled. "Still quick. Still listening," Michael said. Round 2, Tyson pressed forward, heavier now, breathing loud. He threw combinations meant to break, not score. Michael slipped most, ate a few, countered just enough to keep him honest. It was chess in motion, every punch a question, every dodge an answer. Round 3, the years caught up to both of them. Tyson's left knee buckled once. Michael's right hand shook between rounds. Still, they kept going. No one watching could tell if it was pride, duty, or madness. Probably all 3. Round 4, something broke open, not physically, but spiritually. Tyson landed a body shot that made Michael fold in half, gasping. Instead of finishing, he stepped back. "You done?" Michael straightened slowly, blood dripping from his lip. "Not yet. The bell hasn't rung." The line cut through the room like prophecy. Tyson nodded, stepped forward again. They fought like men running out of body but not out of purpose. Round 5 was violence turned beautiful. Tyson's punches came shorter, tighter. Michael's defense became pure instinct, slipping by centimeters, countering with whispers. The sound of their breathing drowned out everything else. Halfway through the round, Tyson caught him clean with a right uppercut. Michael went down hard. The referee stepped in, started the count. 1, 2, 3. Michael's eyes opened. He blinked. 4, 5, 6. He rolled to his knee. 7, 8. He stood up. Tyson shook his head. Stay down, man. Michael smiled weakly. I never learned how. The ref waved them on. Tyson's face twisted between respect and regret. He attacked again, but slower this time, almost merciful. Michael countered with one last burst, a perfect combination, right left right, each shot landing exactly where it should. Tyson took every punch, standing. The bell rang. But neither stopped. For 3 eternal seconds after the bell, they kept throwing. Not out of hate, not for the win, just because stopping felt like death. The ref dove in, breaking them apart. Silence. Both men stood in the center of the ring, heads bowed, hands trembling. The ref reached for their wrists to raise a victor, but they both pulled away. Michael extended a glove. Tyson stared at it, then took it. Draw, Tyson said quietly. Michael nodded. Always was. They hugged, and for a long moment, it felt like the whole sport exhaled. No judges. No press. No trophies. Just 2 men who had finally run out of fight but not of rhythm. That was the last time anyone ever saw Michael Jackson in a ring. A few months later, a journalist found Tyson outside his Las Vegas gym, feeding pigeons at sunrise. He asked if the rumors were true, that Michael had died in Thailand training alone. Tyson looked at the horizon for a long time before answering. He didn't die, he said. He just stopped needing the bell. Years passed. The footage from Tokyo never surfaced. But in 2020, a short clip leaked online, grainy, black and white, soundless. 2 old men circling in a small ring, moving like ghosts. Then, right before the clip ended, Michael's glove brushed Tyson's shoulder, and he smiled. Below the video, a single caption appeared, still dancing. No one ever found who uploaded it. But every time a fighter laces their gloves and taps them twice before stepping into the ring, they're echoing that moment. Every time the bell rings, you can almost hear it, faint, steady, eternal, the rhythm that outlived both flesh and fame. And somewhere, maybe in a forgotten gym, maybe just in memory, a shadow still moves. Step. Pivot. Jab. Breathe. Then silence. The fight is over. But the rhythm? The rhythm keeps counting.